Such dramatic music. I like that. Hello and welcome to HorsePlayers Happy Hour. It is our penultimate episode. I say that, but I'm guessing we might actually do one sort of a wrap up after the Breeders' Cup or something. Actually, no, you know what? We'll probably do that on BCBC Diaries. So this is going to be the penultimate episode of HorsePlayers Happy Hour this year. Peter Thomas Fornatel back with you in the Brooklyn Bunker once again. Special show. It's our semifinals. What does that mean? Well, we have 20 players in a contest that's about to begin. It's going to take place all during the course of this broadcast. 20 players, they've earned their spots through the HorsePlayers Happy Hour Tour. And at the end of the show, there'll be 10. And then next week, in the ultimate episode, the season finale, as it were, those 10 will compete for a Breeders' Cup betting challenge seat. What does that mean? Well, in expected value terms, if you're one of these 20 competing for the 10 spots today and you can advance, that seat is worth $1,000 in theory. So that's a pretty cool prize. Of course, you can't cash it out. You'll have to go on and you'll get 10 or you'll get nothing. But it's going to be fun. Very excited to see In the Money Media team have strong representation in terms of people who do some work for us, including Jackson Muniz, who'll be here a little bit later on in the show. And of course, everybody involved has been a terrific supporter of HorsePlayers Happy Hour this season. Already looking forward to hopefully running this back next year. Some new ideas on how we might improve things. Going to be fun. What else are we going to do during the course of the next couple of hours? Well, one, we're going to have a full open qualifier for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, $179. There's still time to get involved. And you may say, PTF, you're nuts. I don't want to jump in a contest where I have, 5 minutes to make my picks. Why would I want to do that? Well, here's why you might want to do that is because the house cut for this $180 qualifier goes to Thoroughbred Aftercare, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, and Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. So that means you're supporting an amazing cause. And that's something we do all year long here with the house cut, not just from these qualifiers that we do at the end of the season during our playoffs, but all year long. That house cut goes to charity. It makes a huge difference in these horses' lives and also the lives of humans. If you do a little research about some of the equine-assisted therapy our friends at Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga are involved in. We're also going to preview racing at the weekend. I'm going to have some help. I've got, as you might have guessed from the shirt, I've got some yelling to do later tonight, so I'm saving my voice a little bit, but you're not going to miss anything. I'm going to be here in and out throughout the show, covering these contests, bringing you updates, but we're also going to have weekend preview action. Mike Pribozie, who gave out not one, but if my calculations are correct, two $50 winners. I think both on top, certainly as A's, and at least one was on top last week on the show. He's going to be hosting, giving his opinions, and we're going to bring in a few different guests to talk about exciting JRA racing with maybe a look forward to what's going on at the Breeders' Cup in terms of Japanese participation. Alex Henry will be here. I mentioned Jackson already. He'll be here. Jonathon Kinchen from America's Day at the Races will also be here with me in our first, well, really not our first, and probably at that point our third segment, coming up pretty soon, we should say, about 10, 15 minutes time tops. JK will be here, and we're going to go over the Belmont at the Big A Pick 6 on Saturday. So let's say you want to get involved in this contest soon, or you said, you know what, it's too late for this week, but I'll join you next week for the $180 contest and make my charitable donation, as it were. HorsePlayers.com. That's the place to go. Best qualifying site, really the only online qualifying site for both the two majors as they stand now. The NHC, National Horse Players Championship, feeders and qualifiers for that fun event out in Las Vegas. And also what for many is the granddad, well, not the granddaddy. I guess the NHC is always going to be the granddaddy. It's older. But the singular focus of the year for many horse players, many contest players is the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. So happy to be involved in giving out so many seats to that event. Special shout out to Tim Yoler, who the last 2 Thursdays has won a $10,000 BCBC seat on horseplayers.com in our horse player happy hour games. We'll have to get him on at some point, maybe a special interview next week. What I typically do for next week's show is I bring in the 10 final table contested. So you could either view that as something cool that you get to do, a little bit extra fun thing for making the final table, or you can view it as no good deed goes unpunished and something we force you to do. But we're going to have a bunch of interviews next week. Maybe we'll get Tim Yoler to come and join us. In any case, want to make sure that horseplayers.com is on your radar, one of the partners without whom we could not do these shows. Speaking of partners and Horse Players Happy Hour, we have a special guest coming in right now. He's joined us before on these airwaves, and he's always got interesting stuff to say from Daily Racing Form. It's Gino Bacola. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Going well, Pete. How's everything going for you today?
Things are excellent, but my OCD is going to get the best of me here, and I'm going to ask, and don't worry if you can't, but if you can turn your camera so it fills up the black bars on the screen, that'll just like tickle my brain.
Let me get a little better, because I had a computer malfunction right while I was getting on, and I don't know exactly what the issue was. So I tried to just jump on my phone so I could get on with you and get you the important stuff, like try to get a winner of race 5 at Keeneland and tell everybody how they can start getting their handicapping ready for Breeders' Cup, because man, it's crazy how quick it's coming up. We're just 2 weeks away.
It's nuts.
It's insane.
Nuts. And I'm realizing that I still don't have my ticket. I got to figure some things out in a hurry when it comes to this week's Breeders' Cup. A plane ticket, that is. The credentials.
We had our some of our DRF planning meetings this last week, so it all feels real now. Like everything is coming into motion, like knowing where I'm going to be on Monday and Wednesday and Friday of the week, and where I'm going to be at certain times. Now I know what's going on. An important date for everybody out there to remember: October 23rd. That's when the pre-entries come out. So that's when you can already start looking at the pre-entry past performances with part of the packages, the DRF Breeders' Cup packages. So if you purchase early right now, as soon as those become available, you can start looking at them. And then once they're finalized, they'll be all finalized for you after the draws on Monday. So if you're someone like you and I, who we got a lot of work to do and handicap a lot of these races, we got to look at replays and get it as far ahead as we can. October 23rd, that's when those pre-entry PPs come out. That's the important day. You head to shop.drf.com and you can purchase a package right now and save 40%.
Circle that on the calendar and take advantage of that early bird special, and then buy now and then just be ready to jump in then. If you're really crazy, there's great info and resources on the DRF site right now to get you a jump even earlier than that. One little hack somebody might want to enjoy, whether it's looking at rankings on the DRF site or going to the international markets and seeing maybe some of these foreign horses who are going to be coming over. Start now. Start looking back to some of those win in your in races from, the Irish Champions Festival and, King George. And there's so many races that are key form lines year in, year out. You could start doing some of that work now, especially with the assistance of Daily Racing Form and the assistance also of In the Money Media. I think the 1-2 punch, you can't miss out and be fully prepared. You get the DRF package, you get ready to look at those early PPs, and go ahead and sign up for the In the Money Media Plus package as well, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, and you'll have all your bases covered when comes to this year's Breeders' Cup. How does your process work, Gino?
So I was going to say, when I'm doing my process for anything, right, I'm handicapping the races, when I'm looking at football games that I'm going to play, I'm always doing my research, reading articles, handicapping, looking at the replays, while I'm also listening to something too that's talking about that topic. Because then what's nice is it'll key something that I might not have been thinking of or not on my radar as I'm looking at a game. They start talking about it. As I'm watching a race, Pete hits on a horse that was not on my radar at all. And that's what's great. You throw on In the Money Media in the background and you can listen to some of the recaps while you're looking at that Breeders' Cup section on drf.com. Just as you kind of mapped out, Pete, we've got all of the races individually set up for you, and we've got probable odds for all the horses. So you get them basically in order of how we think the top contenders are in each race. It's really nicely set up for you. It saves you a lot of time on your work.
I love that. And I love I think they call it synergy in the biz.
Right.
We're the right companies, I think, to center this around to make sure you get a jump on your Breeders' Cup work. Now, how willing are you, or I don't know if willing is the right word, or able, how much, I'll just ask, do you start forming opinions as early as now? Or do you want to wait? Some people will want to wait till those pre-entries. And then there's other people I know who don't even want to really dive in until they know exactly who's running in post-position order when the actual PPs come out. Because sometimes when you start that early work, you can get committed to some opinions and it makes you a little less malleable. Where do you stand on that? At what point do you know or want to really start formulating proper opinions when it comes to the Breeders' Cup?
I'm always as early as possible. And I think that in the long run, you're just probably better just taking in and absorbing as much information as possible. There's a few horses right now I know coming off of maybe a trouble trip last time out, or maybe a race shape that they were against, that I'm planning on using them in some way. How much will depend on the draw, the field, how many other speed horses there are in that race. But yeah, I think there's already a few horses always on my radar. And I love to get ahead, because just like we're looking at so many races so often that what I may look at for today could also help me for the next card that I'm looking at, knowing about a horse in a certain race, that race comes back live. So I just love getting as much information as possible, listening to as many people as possible. Because I agree with you that sometimes you can be swayed in the wrong direction. But I think if you're going to weigh the good versus the bad, I think the positive outweighs the negative in that sense long term. How many times I've been led in the right direction by listening to your shows and people that are just like you, and knowing how to take the information that you get correctly, right? I tune into a show like this. You guys start talking about a horse that's 15-1 that's not on my radar. Hey, you know what? It's not going to cost me a whole lot to throw that horse in my pick 4 or pick 5. And then boom, I'm not changing everything just based on what you've said, but I'm maybe, taking a second look. And I think we have to be good with the information that we get. And hopefully we can help lead people in the right direction in a few weeks, man, because I'm pumped.
I love that analysis of how even somebody who does this for a living will listen to other people and can use that info. There is an old axiom at the racetrack that your ears can be your worst enemy. I think that comes from my old friend and mentor, William Murray. His book, The Wrong Horse, mentions that. And yeah, you certainly can't listen to everything. You need to be able to filter. But I even know professional players who will listen to podcasts, etc., and maybe find an extra horse to throw into a spread race, that kind of thing. And that willingness to hear other people, listen to other people, even if you're somebody who's super sharp, who does the work by yourself, this kind of stuff can be great. And it's why I encourage people to sign up for our Plus service, and of course to sign up for the indispensable DRF Breeders' Cup package.
We all have egos as horse players too. We've all had big scores. We all have gotten to this place where we have a very strong opinion of our ability, of our skills, of what we can look at. But you have to remember, I try to look at this as like sports. I'm a huge fan. I got the big Dodger game coming up in a little bit. Every
Dodger game,
right? We're going heads up against each other. But every year, Pete, I look at these players, and the best players, every year they've improved on something. And every year they've added something to their repertoire, and they're not just resting on their laurels. And I think of myself, and I think about where I was 5 years ago and 10 years ago, and the stuff that I was looking at when I was handicapping the races. And I know now I am doing a lot more and putting even more into it, because I listen to other people. If somebody says something that I'm not doing or that I think's interesting, I want to start doing that too. I want to add that tool to my toolbox. You always want to be able to be improving. And as much as we want to have an ego, the moment you can tell yourself you don't know everything, you're going to be in good shape. You can always learn something.
I think that's a great point. It makes me think of another friend, and man, I've learned an incredible amount from. I had the pleasure of working on the book Betting with an Edge with Mike Maloney. And basically his line was, even at the professional level, if you're not learning in this game, you're falling behind. Hopefully we're providing resources that help folks stay on top of things. The horses are on the track for this 5th race at Keeneland. I know you've had a look. We got maiden special weights going 7 furlongs here, and taking a quick look at the tote board, we've got a pretty heavy favorite, heavier than I might have guessed, in the form of number 3, Uncle Jim, a son of City of Light. This one obviously live for the white hot Brad Cox barn, but at the current prices, Gino, are you with or against Uncle Jim at 6-5?
Against Uncle Jim, and completely respect the barn. And as you pointed out, I think coming into today, over the last 1 month, they had won with 29 of their last 85 horses just overall. So 34%. and a flat $2.18 ROI, which is crazy because these horses are always short prices. So like they're all like that. You could just blindly bet every Brad Cox horse over the last month and be up money. Just shows you how well they're doing. But at 7 furlongs for a first-time starter, sometimes I think that can be, the determining factor where you have a lot of other horses that have experience in this race, Pete. So I am looking for some of the horses who I think have that race under them and could be really interesting coming off of that. I think that 11 is actually a very fair price right now up on the board. This is a horse who is a half to a grade 1 place, closed the game sugar. This is a horse who actually comes off of a kind of a sneaky troubled trip last time out. After a really bad start, made a nice middle move, loomed right up into it. I think we're seeing like 6-1 right now up on the board. I'm pretty surprised at that price. I thought this horse would be much, much shorter. And the other one that jumped out to me was the 2 Successful Union, who I did figure would take some money. I kind of pegged this one around that same price, like around 6-1. I think we see it at about 7-1. That debut at Indy, this horse showed some ability, almost dwelt, just stood in the gate. Was really slow, was last about 12 lengths off, and really started making up some serious ground late. The top 3 horses in that race had separated. So I think those are 2 from a value-based standpoint. If you're trying to play against Uncle Jim, I'd look to both the 11 and the 2.
I hear the logic on both. Cocktails and Kringle, this 11 runner in particular, I feel like coming from the Ian Wilkes barn. Funny enough, this is another angle Mike Maloney talks about in his book, a trainer who's just sort of known for bringing them along slowly, incremental improvements. Feels like the distance could really bring this one forward. I mean, already ran at the 6.5, but just with another start under the belt after the
foundation.
That's the word. That foundation to continue to come forward here. I wouldn't be surprised if this horse they're betting off the board, Uncle Jim, ends up being the most talented of these. But sometimes these runners that there's clearly a story out about on, they end up being runners, but they don't always do it first out going 7. Sometimes they'll need 2 turns. And I could see that with Uncle Jim just poking through this pedigree a little bit, that this horse could need more ground. We'll see. But I'm with you. I'm inclined to get a little cute and maybe try to take on the favorite in this spot. 0 minutes to post. They're getting ready to go in the gate. Gina, we'll keep you here. We'll just sort of talk through the race while it's running, and then we'll release you to get back to doing the prep work for the Breeders' Cup for our friends over at DRF. Let us know in the meantime some of the other stuff you've been doing. I know you've had some fun other projects you've got working for DRF. Tell us a little bit about some of the other things you're doing with them.
Yeah, one thing that's been really exciting, we are working with Sports Grid, which is a sports network that a lot of people I'm sure that are bettors follow, that runs out of the East Coast. So every week on Friday, we have a weekend preview show now where we kind of talk about some of the biggest races going on the weekend. And we actually have 3 hours carved out for Breeders' Cup prep. I think the Wednesday before Breeders' Cup, from 4 to 7 Eastern time on Sports Grid. So that'll be a lot of fun. Alexa Zepp hosts the show with me, and we will talk about all the Breeders' Cup races. We're going to bring different guests on. That's been an absolute blast. Really been enjoying that. And just like we do here with you, Dan Illman leads a great group over on the YouTube channel, previewing all the big races, recapping, getting everybody ready. So if you're not subscribed over there, make sure to head on over and check that out too, because just another great thing that you can throw on, have some really good background noise while you're doing your handicapping, and some smart people hoping to lead you in the right direction. So it's a wealth of information over there. And I've been really excited because I think for all of us, DRF, is kind of one of the real prestigious names in racing. So anytime you get a chance to work with them, kind of feel like you've made it a little bit. So it's nice.
Truly one of the great brands in the sport. It's such good information. You mentioned the professor, Dan Illman, and the great job he's done. I learned so much working with him over the years, and always enjoy the stuff that he's doing. And the rest of the team you guys have is excellent over there. Obviously, Mike Beer needs no introduction as well. So yeah, great advice. And I do love that idea of having some other media on while you're doing your work. It's a good idea, and something that's a lot of fun to do. All right, we are on the back stretch here, maybe just beginning to enter the turn. Favorites traveling okay, but not in the you wouldn't be feeling great if you'd had your life savings on it at 6-5.
No.
Not out of it, I wouldn't say, but a lot of work to do. How do you feel about the position of your runners in here so far, Gino?
Probably where I would like to be with the 11 as we're getting close to the top of the tree. I think the 3's in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, can still do it, I think, trying to make a rail run here up the wood. This would be very impressive for a first-time starter. Would definitely be living up to the hype if he can indeed punch through and then hold off the deeper closers coming down the center of the track. But looks like
Wow.
they might have known on this one. A
Yeah.
little bit more gear in the stretch and wins actually with something in hand. As we're joined by Jonathon Kinchen up there in the corner. JK, you watching that race at Keeneland? You're on mute. You don't even wait for 1 minute through to get stuck on mute.
It's wild. It's wild.
Had you heard the word on this?
I didn't get to see it.
Clearly, the story was out.
No, I wasn't involved.
Gotcha. Well, Gino, we'll let you get on with your day. Appreciate you coming by. And yeah, we'll probably bother Alexa next week, but we'll definitely have you on the In the Money airwaves sooner rather than later. Godspeed, my friend.
I'll be seeing and talk to you guys a lot over the next few weeks. Good luck, guys.
Awesome. Cheers. Love Gino. Great energy and knowledge he brings to the broadcast. We both got cute there trying to beat this good thing. And the horse won not like a first-time starter, JK. They showed some real you would have thought the horse would have had a race the way he was able to listen to the rider and, just basically never be panicked in what some horses can be stressful situations, in between horses.
What race was it?
It's called Uncle Jim by City of Light out of a Tisnow dam called Now. Yet another winner for the On Fire Brad Cox barn. Probably one I'm going to guess will do better work around 2 turns as well off that promising 7 furlong debut. Maybe one to.
Well, the good news is I don't have to do any research next week for my Lanes In legacy. It'll definitely be Uncle Jim by City of Light.
There you go. You've got it sorted out. Yeah, that's a video worth checking out for sure. All right, we do have another race coming up. Wait, right now, at Belmont at the Big A. Did you happen to have a look at this one? They're getting ready to go to the gate, so you've got about 30 seconds.
What race is it?
It's race number 6, Belmont at the Big A. Meanwhile, the contest is closed, so we can get a sense of at least how many people are playing. So I can do that, but it'd be great if we can get your quick capping has been out of this world, and I know you know all these horses and probably had a quick look at it before. So if you have anything for us, let us know.
Let's go with what's the 6? What price is the 6?
The 6 runner is 7-2 in here.
Well, whoop, there it is. The 6 it is. I'll take the 6.
Like it? What jumped? Obviously something.
Changing the pick. I'm going with the 11 with the even pace line stretching out. Okay, the 6 then. 6.
Just kidding. It was always going to be the 6. And now the 3 is a late scratch in here. A Magical Road will not compete. The big favorite at 8-5 is the 10 runner, JK. Anything stand out to you positive or negative about this one? Is this one that is like a favorite who's just the price, or is this one you'd want to like actively oppose?
Actively oppose. I mean, it's a horse off of Chad. Chad dropped for 20, who was basically even money at Saratoga. Got beat that day with an advantageous trip. I don't see this horse improving off of that.
No, I hear you. I mean, Linda Rice has gotten plenty of wins in situations like this, but at 9-5, I don't think I need to mess around there. And it does feel like your horse, Torpedo Run, looking at pace figures, might be positioned in front of that one, right? With the being drawn inside?
I would think so. The draw often can make a huge difference.
So, all right, this is our, what did I put up on screen? I should be paying more attention. So this is the Horse Player Happy Hour playoffs. We don't have anything official yet, but you can see there the 20 names who are involved. I mentioned before in the money participation, Jackson has the 2 entries. James Miller helps us out. Millar, he says, helps us out a lot behind the scenes, and then a lot of regulars. So Matt Miller's been on the show many times. Greg Kingma, former Horse Player Happy Hour Tour winner. Julie LeBoyko, same, obviously this year's winner. So this is a good group of players. 20 will be winnowed down to 10 at the end. Very excited to see who that is. And get started on next week's game. And then meanwhile, we got some official numbers now. This is the qualifier for today. Where do I see on here how many played? Because if I just go to the bottom, it's all ties, so I won't see. Good participation. Maybe it is 120 people. So once again, lots of money raised for Thoroughbred Aftercare. That's exciting. Not going to bother to read a leaderboard after one race, but very happy with that amount of participation. I saw this name towards the end, Suresh Bauman. For a second, I thought it said Sean Borman. I was like, Sean's playing and he didn't tell me, but he is not, alas. All right, they're getting ready to load here at Aqueduct. We'll see what happens in the battle for the early lead and beyond. Then you and I will take a look at Saturday, and we'll do some Belmont Pick 6 action. How's your time in the Planet Texas been so far, JK? Everything good?
It's good. It's a busy weekend. Production meeting in the middle of the show, Pete. I got my out moved up just a little bit because it's Texas, Georgia this weekend. It's also F1. So
wow.
There's billboards around town saying it projects to be the biggest weekend in the last 25 years in Austin. And so the traffic is outrageous to get out down south to pick up Austin from school. So
no worries. It will not be the first time we've banged through a pick 6 sequence. That's the main thing that I need you for on this show. So we will do that as soon as they hit the wire here, and then we'll have you out by 45. Will that do it, or you want 40?
45 is magic.
Great. So we'll see.
Oh, and not to mention an MK show Saturday night.
No way. In Austin?
He's playing here, and he's playing right after the national anthem at F1. But he only has 4 tickets. The math isn't going to work out. I don't think we're going to be able to go. But
that's too bad.
But there is a chance that he has found a way to smuggle Austin into the event on Saturday night. So
he's the world's smallest, PA. Come on, that should be easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's 22.
Confabulation did make the top, a good aggressive ride, but gonna have to earn it because being harassed by this truly warrior. And meanwhile, JKU with Torpedo Run sitting in the garden spot. You happy with where this horse is with a half mile behind in 47-1?
Yeah, well, for a second, it looked like he wasn't running. Now it feels like I feel like I'd go get in line to cash my ticket.
I think you're running, dude. The favorite is very much under the pump. Truly is grinding away. You've got a smooth run right down the center, and you go right by. And this one, you can go and get in line to cash. Another insta pick from JK. And looks like the favorite will maybe fight back to get second, but maybe not finish second. We'll find that out. Important for place points. It's going to come 6-8 at Belmont at the Big A.
There's a pick 6 carryover today too, wasn't there? I forgot.
Small
about that.
one, yes. I'm sort of rooting for a double so we can promote this show as a carryover show. I'm going to start at 28:45. I'm writing that down for my notes. And take a sip of water. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for the weekend of October 19th and 20th. Peter Thomas Fornatal back with you. Very excited to be kicking off the show and going over racing at Belmont at the Big A. Thereafter, going to hand over the microphone to Mikey P, Mike Pribozie, who's going to continue on talking about JRA racing, Keeneland Racing, and Santa Anita. A little bit of a calm before the storm weekend here, but still terrific stuff happening. And we're going to start off by bringing in a man coming to us from what promises to be one of the biggest weekends in Austin, Texas over the last several decades, and that's saying something. He is Jonathon Kinchen. JK, what's up, and which part of this fun Texas action are you going to get yourself to be a part of? I can't imagine you're going to miss the football game.
No, I can't miss the football game. It's Austin's 13th birthday week, and that was his choice for his gift. So it's not the easiest ticket to come by, but it should be fun. It obviously Georgia coming into town, and Texas being number one, and Georgia being right there in the mix, and it should be one for the ages. Texas is favored, which I guess is not a surprise, but that's good. And got on the other side of 3 at 3.5. So that's always nice to make you feel a little warm and fuzzy as well.
Are you getting involved from a gambling point of view, or when it comes to the burnt orange, do you not need the extra juice of having a
No,
wager?
I don't need a. Yeah, I mean, this is an opportunity for I do have a Texas future now that I remember, a Texas future to win the national championship. So there's some that's there, but no, I just it's when I was in school here, we were really damn good, and then we've had a run of not being great, and to feel like we're close back to the top again, that's the excitement enough for me.
Having a team that's doing good things always makes you feel good. And I know a little something about tough tickets. Been going to all these Mets games here in this playoff
Are you going
run.
tonight?
I'm going tonight. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is it. I'm not such a foolish optimist that I think they can lose this game and then beat them 3 in a row. But I mean, they've been nothing if not resilient. They've looked outclassed in the series. I'm not going to lie, and they might be. But hey, at this point, you just can never say never with this team. So we're gonna go out on the shield as with our fandom and try to make it tonight, and probably regardless of the result, try to go back tomorrow night. I'm a little bit excited. You know, New York has a rare, important college football game next weekend with Navy Notre Dame at the Meadowlands. I'm thinking of maybe going to check that out and pulling for Navy. You know, Susan's dad was a sub captain and season ticket holder for Navy forever, class of 58. I love going. One of the funnest football memories I have, JK, was going with him to the Annapolis Stadium a few years ago and hanging at the class of 58 tailgate. Those guys, they still get after it.
That's amazing.
You think they have any shot against Notre Dame?
Notre Dame's not like a world beater this year. And Navy, if I'm not mistaken, is it Navy or Army? I think Navy. I don't want to lie, so let me just double check this. Navy has the highest rated quarterback in terms of efficiency. Obviously, they in the country, Blake Horvath. So, you know, he. I mean, I think they probably run it a lot, but
yes.
yeah, no, he's highly rated when he does as a quarterback, though. So yeah, sure, they can beat him.
It'll be interesting. I'm probably going to do that. While we're talking football, we'll give a shout out to our friends, not sponsors at the moment, but still give a shout out to our friends at Winner's Circle Proxy. The worm has turned a little bit, JK, for us in this Circa contest. 2 4-1 weeks in a row. Is it just randomness, or do you think that the first weeks weren't as good as these, or has something demonstrable changed? And are we going to continue our march to win the second quarter?
Yeah, I think we're just, you know, the beginning of the year is just so random. You don't know how these teams are going to gel and what's going to happen and things like that. And so you got teams like Minnesota that jump up and turn out to be pretty damn good and so on and so forth. So maybe just got a better feel for it now.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted. Hoping to do some work with Winner Circle Proxy again in the future. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll make sure to have a little chat and or just send me. You're on fire, so don't let me get in the way. Send me who you like this weekend with Winner Circle Proxy. It's so easy to get these picks in and play in these contests that used to be for Vegas people only. All right, let's pivot. We're going to talk about the pick 6 on Saturday, JK. It goes as the first race in the sequence is what? Is it race number 8? Let me take a look. I'm all out of sorts. No, it's race number 7 on Saturday. 2-year-old maidens.
Why is it not the 5? Why is it not race 5?
Saturday.
Because they have a. I did. Oh, geez. Okay, I had the wrong one pulled up. All right,
we're good. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Do you want it? Did you like anything in 5 or 6?
I had both done, so it doesn't matter.
There you go. Race number 7, 2-year-old New York bred maiden special weights. Definitely the kind of race I like when they have first in the sequence, because it certainly gives us an opportunity to see the tote board, get a chance to see these horses, listen to your colleague potentially, one of your colleagues, whether it's Maggie Wolfendale or Acacia Clement or Richie Migliori, give their thoughts on what these things look like in the flesh, which is always kind of nice. But who do you like on paper to get the victory in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see what happens if the 13 draws in. Real Savvy. If that horse draws in, obviously one that you want to make sure you have as an A horse. I thought the anytime you have a Peter Brandt homebred for Chad Brown with Flavian Pratt, I mean, what are you going to do in this situation? It's one of those that you want to see what happens from a wagering standpoint. And then the 6 Demir, who I thought ran well last time, closing into a slow pace after breaking slowly, and it's definitely one that I would use and one that I could trust because and if I'm not mistaken, this is a horse that I think is a 3/4. I think 3/4 to why am I going blank on the filly's name? I'm going to get there in 3, 2, 1. Fluffy Socks. I think it's a 3/4 to Fluffy Socks. So
that's George Briggs you're talking about?
No, Deemer, the 6. Sorry, the 6 Deemer, the head of Plains, and it's kind of a fun connection. Is because I think Cherie got this horse because of the relationship Cherie had with Lady Eli. Head of Plains owned Lady Eli. Slumber is they raced Slumber, and if I'm not mistaken, Pink Peppermint is I think a 3/4. I think this is a 3/4 to.
This dam has not had another starter, but maybe it's just related in the family, kind of a thing.
Yes, yeah. I think Pink Peppermint is a half to Fluffy Socks.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. So I'm going to write you down as 13, 4, and 6 to kick things off.
Yes.
Deemer was the one I liked too, just based on that running line. Difficult post, first out, caught a lot of money, ran plenty, being beaten only ahead, and not with an easy trip. I think this horse is supposed to just step up based on that race that he ran first out. And I love the pedigree info. I missed that. I usually don't look at that. It's always great when you can. There isn't as easy of a way on DRF to look at that type of information of who the dam's kin are. I usually just look at dam produce. So I whiffed on that one, and it just makes me like this runner all the more. Let's move to race number 8. We've got $32,000 claimers here on this for this Saturday card, Belmont at the Big A. Who did you come up with in here?
Yeah, I didn't have a strong opinion. Sometimes these 32,000 in these claiming races, they all start to look the same. I think that's designed to be that way, so that checks out. But I'm going to use the entry. I prefer the 1, but I'll take the 1A and the 1X if you can get them in there as well. I want to make sure I use the 2 C's Get Degrees, who's switching to Wayne Potts' barn. The 4 Secret Rules for 10 strike racing, 10 strike, 10 strike, 10 strike. And the 5 Commerce Comet, who ran really well last time. A lot of times when a horse can make that jump up second with a trainer, sometimes you can forgive the first one. Maybe they had to figure some things out. Then the horse jumped up last time and ran well. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 for me.
I'm not just being a homer here, but I really like Secret Rules in this spot. This horse, maybe was with the profile of the track last time, but isn't a one-way speed type. This is a horse that has also come from off the pace, and I think that could be the winning trip here. There's plenty of speed signed on, especially with this entry situation. There's going to be pace, or you'd think there's going to be pace. Michelle Giangiulio does such a good job. I really like Secret Rules, maybe to come from off the pace, and your case on the 1 entry, especially the straight one, just makes all the sense in the world. That's how I had it. 4 and 1, 1, 2, 4, 5 for JK in race number 8. As we pivot to race number 9, where we've got an allowance race going a little bit farther here, 1 3/16 on the turf, and that can always be a fun angle in trying to maybe pull something out from a pedigree point of view. You've got a horse here that I've always been a fan of in Daunt, who I think is one that, didn't exactly see things out going the 1 3/8 two back. You got to take into account the pace that one was in there. Well drawn this time around. Bobby Riguardo has had a quiet year with the 1 for 39, but certainly knows how to train. Has had so many winners over the years for Mark Keller. I thought Daunt was interesting to potentially get the money in this spot, JK. Do you like that one at all? And are there any other numbers you want to nominate in race number 9 at Belmont at the Big A?
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 5, 9. I'm not going to repeat what you felt about Don. I thought ran well last time. Mondigo, one is I kind of don't trust, but this isn't the most dominating group, and I feel like this one does have a little bit of a tactical edge. Has run well at these longer distances before. The 5 Pioneering Spirit, who Linda Rice entered in that Sword Dancer back at Saratoga. So obviously has a little bit of talent and has some races against much better that put pioneering spirit into the mix. This horse tried the Belmont Gold Cup going 2 miles, so I don't think the distance is going to be a problem at all. And then I wanted to use the 9, Really Good, who is getting back to Lasix, who I thought ran well last time, chasing a slow pace and just kind of got lost out there a little bit, going the 1.5 miles down at Delaware.
Stakes action up next in the Athenia goes as race number 10. We've got a participation from Papilio, who we've talked about so much for our friends at Medallion Racing. But I don't think this race is just as simple as her, JK. Who do you want to pull in to talk about in this 10th race?
Yeah, I mean, Papilio is definitely one that I think is interesting, and would use. Prerequisite. Just I thought last time got everything her own way, and it's a Chad Brown runner. I think the horse is probably going to be a little bit overbet. I wanted to make sure that I had the 5 3 Priests who ran down at Kentucky Downs, gets a little bit of a cutback here, but switches to Graham Motion, and it looks like you're going to probably try to target a little bit more of a North American campaign for the rest of this year, and I would presume next year as well. So those are the only 2 that I was going to use was Papilio and the 5 3 Priests for Graham Motion, who I thought ran sneaky good last time down on the inside, considering.
I hear it, and that was one that was on my radar along with Papilio. But I was going to go ahead and make the 1 runner, Tufani, my top pick in here, JK. A runner maybe has been suited by trying to close and pass horses in these slow-paced races. You do see that from time to time, but also might be a little bit better than these runs suggest at 2 to 5 and 3 to 5 at Colonial. I could see this horse with maybe a little bit more of a pace to run into, being well heard from late from this cozy inside post. I like Tufani. I'm interested in 3 Priests, and I respect Papilio. Agree with you about taking a shot against the 6 runner. Race 11, $20,000 claimers. We're getting near your witching hour, I see. So very quickly, who do you like in here?
Yeah, I'm going to use 1, 6, 7, 11. Look, these claiming races, a lot of times the way I play these pick 6s, pick 5s, whatever they are in Naira is I get very directed in allowance, maidens, stakes races. And in these claiming races with all these sharp trainers, with horses moving from barn to barn, going up in class, down in class, they can sometimes get a little bit tricky. So I feel like a lot of these look similar. I thought, like I said, 1, 6, 7, and 11. I thought, they all kind of look similar. The 11 being my top pick, dropping in from the starter optional. And with 10 strike racing, we know that Marshall and the gang are very realistic with their horses. They're not going to chase conditions. They're not going to chase spots they shouldn't be in. They claim the horse for 25. They tried the starter optional, and now they're back in for 20 to put the horse where they think the horse deserves to be.
I like 7 First Glimpse off the claim for William Morey, who isn't known for success in New York, but has had success all over the place. Claim this one from Rudy Rodriguez. I just think the horse really fits and should get a great trip in a race where I think there's plenty of pace, sitting mid-pack and getting a nice closing, but not plodding type journey. First Glimpse for me, respect for your others as well. We close it out with our nightcap, an allowance race for fillies and mares going 6 furlongs on the turf when it comes to this pick 6 at Belmont at the Big A on Saturday. JK, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, I needed 2. I almost singled the 7 La Salvadorina, who I thought ran extremely well at Saratoga. I think it was towards the end of the meet for Ray Handel. They had tried to go a little bit longer with her. They ended up putting her back sprinting. Now she gets 6 furlongs, so she gets the extra half furlong to work with. But because she went a little bit longer, you could trust that. And then Reflexivity, who ran in that starter optional the other day, wired that field, was a very short price, but did it pretty impressively. I can't get enough of speed in these types of situations. So I'm going to take a closer that I can trust, a horse that comes from off of it, a little bit closer last time, La Salvadorina, and then the 9 Reflexivity to get paid.
7 and 9 for JK to close things out. I'm very similar. I like the looks of La Salvadorina based on that previous race. I like the trip that Reflexity is going to get on or near the lead. I'll bring in one more for the potent Clement Flavian Prat team. Leslie's Humor, I thought, was going to get an excellent race in here. Garden spot, chance to attack. This is, I think, a little bit easier of a spot than that last allowance race. I'm going to play this one 7, 9, and 3 to close things out. JK, appreciate having you on, and we'll talk to you very soon. Make sure, folks, to check out the In the Money Media YouTube channel for lots of exclusive content. We'll be talking, buddy.
All right, Pete, see you, bud.
All right, 4718. That's the magic number for me. Let me write that down. And then to talk about our next race, we bring in a man who's going to be really taking the reins of this show. He is Mikey P, Mike Pribozie. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, PTF? Good to be back on HorsePlayer Happy Hour, and hopefully you're feeling well.
I gave you credit before for giving out two $50 horses on this show last week. What I couldn't remember, were they A-lines? Were they top picks? What's the deal?
So one was top pick. Surface to Air was a pretty big push last week for me at Keeneland. So that one came through. And then the second one was a B type in that Santa Anita race with that huge favorite. I think we talked about that one, had a pace advantage, but one of the B types was able to come through there and I think pay 40 plus.
I feel like it was even more than that. But yeah, some good stuff, especially Surface to Air. I mean, that horse triggered all kinds of crazy payouts. I did hear from a couple of listeners / viewers about that one. We've got 2 minutes to race number 6 at Keeneland. Why don't you give your thoughts on that one while I take a look through the comments here, and we'll pick up the action. You and I'm going to be handing off the reins to you at some point in the next few minutes as you're going to guide us through the remainder of the Saturday preview stuff. But I'll keep popping back on here to update leaderboards, etc., and all that good stuff. But who did you like in this 6th race at Keeneland?
Well, there was a huge late scratch. I'm not sure if you were sort of watching the feed, but the favorite was scratched in the paddock here, and that's the 7-horse Finster. So that was a big, I think, push for a lot of the HorsePlayer Happy Hour contestants. I was checking out the leaderboard there, and there was a lot of 7s I did see on a lot of the contest leaderboards here. So I'd imagine that they will fall to the favorite now with that late scratch of the 7. The favorite currently is the 4, 2-1 right now, and the 4 is, let's see, double clutch, and that's Jose Ortiz, George Arnold, and that's the horse I actually liked in this race. If you look back, had an 88 figure there on June the 30th at Churchill going a mile. This horse shortens up, raced pretty well, I thought, at Kentucky Downs in that 2X there on September 11th. Faced Mischievous Angel there. That's a real nice turf sprinter. And I do think that this horse fits on class, fits on numbers. The shortening up, I think, will suit this horse. 2-1, I do understand, I think, especially given the scratch of the 7 here.
Right, not a crazy favorite, maybe a backable price. Though I do find it ironic that I tout you for giving out $50 horses and then you give me a 2-1 chat.
I'm sorry. What can I do? There's a couple scratches in the race. I call them like I see them. When they're 20-1 and I like them, I give them out. If they're 2-1, I like them.
I'm just teasing, and that is our MO here. We don't believe in just giving out horses we don't believe in throwing darts to give prices. I mean, there are people who think, oh, well, anybody can find a favorite, but I don't agree with that philosophy. Not everybody can find the kind of favorites you want to key around and really press your opinions up on. So extremely valuable info. Was just giving you a hard time. We'll see how this double clutch gets on here as they pop from the gates at Keeneland, and looks like you're getting a rear pack sit in this spot. My gut is it's a little far back. Are you okay with that spot? Is this what you expected from double clutch?
Well, I mean, the horse is turning back in distance, so I would expect the horse to be off the pace. Closers have done well here. All meet on the grass, so getting a fine trip here, I think, just has to find some room. Seems to be full of run on the turn here. They're going quick.
Definitely has run. Is going to have to thread through, but yeah, I mean, double handful, trying to move up by his own darn self. We'll see what the fractions were. They were quick. The first quarter shaded 22 seconds, and closers are coming as those exertions take their toll. And you've got a clear run right here down the center. Still some horses to pass, but every opportunity, and looks like you're going to stick your head right in front of this. Is a Gilded Ruler? Is that horse? And it's just a question if that one can fight back. Cannot. You win 8-5. Very nice. Good pick.
8-5. I mean, yeah, again, I mean, you kind of have to take what they give you sometimes. And this horse with the scratch of the 7, I thought became just a little more obvious. The turn back suits the way the track has been playing. If you're paying attention to the Keeneland grass, being up front is not the place to be. You have to be from off of it. You get any sort of pace at all, and coming from the back is certainly definitely advantageous.
I would agree. I mean, that seems to be the way the race has been flowing. I'm just always impressed when a turf sprinter can come from far back going that sharp. It's not always easy around that bend, but just seem to outclass them a bit there with that newly recomposed field. We will do this ideal world. We do this Belmont race. We do leaderboards, and then maybe we do the JRA segment if our guest gets here. I have texted her, so hopefully that's on schedule. Did you have a thought on this Belmont at the Big A race? Huge favorite in the form of Dancing Dean out of the dam Dean Henry, one that again I'm a little bit concerned about just from a pace point of view. Now, granted, going a mile and 3/8, there's a lot of time to get in position. When you've got a figure edge, you're supposed to be able to make your own trip. But just looking at like a raw pace map on Timeform US, Dancing Dean is going to have to pass a lot of horses in a race where I don't see a lot of pace. My inclination is to look elsewhere at 3-5. Is this a favorite you're willing to go with, or one that you want to oppose?
Yeah, I would oppose, but the problem is who's going to get the front in this race? And you have a couple horses from Christophe Clement that are coming off of layoffs. The 3 and the 4 in here both haven't raced since April, and now the 3 has shown more speed in the past. I do think that one could be primed, especially Dylan Davis, very hot. He continues to just win race after race. And this horse has shown to be a little bit more forward than some of the others in here. I do think that if ready off the bench, and I think that usually Christophe horses typically are, this horse needs to get in front, maybe get the jump on some of the closers here. I don't really see a reason why this horse maybe forget to stop here.
Interesting. Yeah, You Know Nothing. What a clever name on this runner out of Ygritte, I guess you'd say, which was the Jon Snow girlfriend wildling character who had the famous "You Know Nothing, Jon Snow" line. So I like that. I like the Game of Thrones theme name. We won't talk about the later seasons of that show. But yeah, very, very interesting. I could see being handled aggressively in this spot, and maybe gives the favorite a race. We'll see what happens here at Belmont at the Big A. Maybe what we'll do is right after this race, production meeting in the middle of show number 2, right after this race, I'll hand over to you, Mike, and we'll record, bring it in as if you're bringing in an audio segment. I'll pop your guest up on there. I'll rest my voice for a few minutes. And then when your JRA segment is wrapped, I'll come back on and we'll look at some leaderboards, etc. So yeah,
Sounds
go
good.
as long, I'll be sitting here waiting, so you can go as long as you want to on that one. We got plenty of time today. So that is a plan with me. If it's a plan with you, that sound good?
Absolutely. We can do it.
We'll hang through this Belmont at the Big A race. I know you've been very busy. We talked a little bit before about In the Money Plus and all the special coverage we have on that side of things. I know you've been working on doing some trip notes. Do you have a particular race you're specializing in, or are you just sort of pitching in where needed? How are you handling that?
Well, so far I've done a couple of the races. I did trips for the distaff. I did trips for the dirt sprint. So I've done some work on both of those races. Those are going to be on Saturday, both of those races. I know that the juvenile turf, I do believe, is done. Will and Justin Christine, Will Humphrey, Justin Christine have been doing work on that. So I think we are going to release a couple of those trip notes that we have done so far. I think we're going to start on Saturday to start to release those.
How will they
lots of good work being done.
How does it work? I've had some people ask me about, do you just get emails? Is there a landing page? Explain to folks how some of this ITM Plus work, especially these trip notes, are going to be distributed.
So the plan as of now would be to have individual emails for each individual race, and then have a landing page where you would have access to all the races and be able to access those trip notes at any time. So you have a landing page similar to whenever we were doing the Derby profiles and things, where you can access every horse and access every race that we're doing the trips for. But you'll also have individual emails with each individual race, so you can. That's another way to access it. So I don't know how much I know you do a lot of emailing. If I want to look up the juvenile fillies turf, say, I can go to my email and access that email, or I can go to the landing page and check it out there. Also, they will both be available, and I do think we will, like I said, get that going this weekend.
It's good to have those options. I will get to some emails. We've got greetings from Ecuador. Greetings to you. Stu Slagle has been a loyal viewer and player for us. Very sharp individual. Wishing good luck and Godspeed to the finalists. We'll give a hello to Hasnain. Matt Miller is in the mix here, and I see a boom from him. So I'm assuming that means he did well. Frankie S., is that Gino B? Yes, of course. That was Gino B. It was great to have him in the mix. Chris Couples in the chat. Good stuff. Always good seeing him here. Matt, very active in the chat. Feel free to join us. Walter wants to know, when is the Breeders' Cup? That's an easy one, Walter. That is going to be November 2nd and 3rd. I am moving things around. I am desperately trying to I have some life complexities, but I'm desperately trying to make sure I can get out there this year. It's I'm a favorite, but I'm not a sure thing at this point. But we're hoping we can make the magic happen. Scrolling back in, Frank says he'd like to join the group. Frank, all you have to do is drop a note in the comments like you did, and we're seeing him. So yeah, feel free. It might be a little bit of a talk amongst yourselves thing in the comments today, as we've got a lot going on, and next week is going to be worse. But give it a try, and we'll see. We talked about who was going to be on the lead in the 7th race at Belmont at the Big A. Mike, so far it is, I'm guessing, the two longest shots on the board. Heron Bay, 68-1, followed by Lullaby Land, 45-1. But You Know Nothing, whom we spoke about, getting a wonderful garden type trip in 3rd, and sort of moving up on his own courage right now. Favorites moving well, but very much at the back of the pack. Pace seems honest enough, I suppose, for this distance. They just went pretty close to 49 flat. Yeah. So you feel like the favorite is in a good spot here, or what's your thought on who's going to win?
This is the way this horse races. I mean, he's going to be from off of it no matter what. He seems within himself right now. The 3 sort of got drugged back off the lead there. He was kind of fighting the rider for a bit, and he's in a good spot also. Really, no excuses for him. Maybe he lacks a little room currently, but these front end horses who are big odds are probably going to maybe be looking for a place to lay down here. So
yes, I would think so. Though they did slow it down a bunch. The mile just went in 42. I still like a lot where the 4 is. The 2's now making a wide move, has no choice really but to go wide and try to get in here, and may have as a result gotten the jump. We'll see if this 4 has any response. I said he before. I should have said she. These are fillies and mares, and looks like this is a 1-horse race, and the market got it right. Yeah, Dancing Dean looks as if propelled out of a rocket. You Know Nothing comparatively very, very grindy. Not a bad effort from You Know Nothing, but just absolutely no match for this big chalk. Dean delivers, or not Dean delivers. It's a very different horse. Dancing Dean. We'll see what happens and how that affects these contest standings. But meanwhile, I'm going to take a back seat, and Mike, I'm going to note the time here, and you are going to bring it in anew when I pop your guest up on the screen here in just a couple seconds. That all sound good?
Sounds good. I'm back on the Players Podcast for this week, bringing in our resident JRA, Japanese racing expert, Alex Henry. Welcome back to the Players Podcast, but you're with Mikey P this week.
Indeed. Hey, Mikey P. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here for another awesome week of racing.
So we can talk a little about last week and the big race last week, and it seemed that the favorite came through.
Indeed. Hey, I told you it was between Stellenbosch and Servina, and Servina really got it done. So really thrilling race. Unfortunately, had to give you chalk, but hopefully we make it up this weekend in the Japanese St. Leger.
Yeah, and it's okay to give the favorite when they win. So especially in these big fields, these are difficult races. So to give 2-to-1 shots, there's no shame at all whatsoever. Yeah, a nice winner there.
Hey, and I have to plug myself. I did play the late pick four. I know, pod fail, chalk eating weasel move. I did use Stellenbosch and Cervinia, and I ended up not hitting the pick five, but I got a consolation payout for hitting 4 out of 5 because there was a couple of long shots early on in the sequence. That consolation payout paid over $400, so I'm not quite angry with myself for that. I'll take it.
Yeah, I've checked on a lot of those multi-leg wagers there, and you can get some really big payouts, especially, and they have lower minimums, correct?
That's correct. The minimum is 20 cents, so easier to spread a little bit for the races you're unsure about.
Absolutely. Big fields. Well, you mentioned Japanese St. Ledger this week. Now, this is a long race. It's 3,000 meters, so it's 15 furlongs, not a race distance we typically see in the U.S.
That's correct, indeed. This is the longest grade 1 race for 3-year-old horses of any gender running in Japan during the year. This is the 3rd leg of the Japanese male Triple Crown. We do not have a Triple Crown on the line this year. Some may have argued that we could have had the chance if Justin Milano, the Satsuki Show winner, would have stayed healthy. The first leg of the Japanese Triple Crown winner would have stayed healthy throughout the year, but unfortunately, he suffered an injury in the Japanese Derby and finished, I think, 10th or 11th. And then just 6 days ago, it was announced that he will not be running again this year. He was scheduled to run in the 10-0 show in a couple of weeks, but has a tendon injury, so he's out for 9 months, unfortunately. Hope to see him back next year.
So when, I'm not sure if you know, and I probably should know the answer to this before I ask this question, but when was the last Japanese Triple Crown? Was it Deep Impact? Was that the last one?
No, the last Japanese Triple Crown was Contrail, I believe.
Okay.
Yep, that was 2019 already? I think so.
So who would be the contenders for this year's race? The 3,000 meters obviously very testing.
Indeed. So the winner of the Japanese Derby is coming back in this, and his name is Danon Decile. He's a colt by Epiphanea out of a Congrats mare called Top Decile. So he actually did not finish in the Satsuki Show that Justin Milano won, bounced back to win Japanese Derby as a 9th favorite. So he wasn't well heralded at all. But I think he's beatable here, quite frankly. And I'm going to be looking at some horses that are longer specialists and are bred to go long. And one of them in particular is, they don't have numbers yet, so apologies for not being able to give you a number, a saddlecloth number. But I'm looking at a horse called Meliorum. I believe that's how you would say it in English, Meliorum. Last race out, he raced in September in the Grade 2 Kobe Shinbunhai. He didn't win that race, even though he was the favorite. Ran into some trouble. His jockey said he ran in fits. But that was over 2,200 meters on good ground. The race before that was in July. It's race roughly translates to the Seibu Supponichi Show, which is an allowance level race. Think of it maybe as a non-winners of 3 allowance. They actually have those in Japan, funny enough. And he was a heavy favorite and won like it. He won going away after rating handily in like 4th until the far turn, overtaking his rivals like they were standing still. That race was over 2,600 meters on firm turf. You could tell this horse really wants, the longer you go, the better he's going to get. And I guarantee he'll be a double-digit odds.
That's nice to give prices there, and it's part of a big card here. What they have, I think 11 or 12 races on Sunday. There, it would be Saturday night for us. Lots of big multi-leg wagers. Have you looked into that at all?
It's a little bit early. I like to see where the money goes. And that's actually a good tip for those who are going to be wagering horizontally. So there is a early pick 5, again, another 20-cent denomination starting in race 1, ending in race 5. There's a middle pick 4. I believe that starts into race 5, I want to say, 4 or 5, and going until race 7 or 8, and then, or 8 or 9, excuse me. And then there is that late pick 4 or pick 5, excuse me, starting in race 8 and then ending in race 12. And the reason why I like to check and see where the money is going is the Japanese public they're really good at wagering early, and those odds typically don't shift. So for example, if there's a maiden race I'm not quite sure about, I can't find as much information about works or trainer comments for horses that are maidens, I'll look at that money and see where it's been shifting throughout the evening. And if there's a really heavy, like a 1.5 decimal odd favorite, for example, that's a horse I'll single, and I've had success with that angle. It sounds strange, but usually they're pretty spot on for the maidens, at least.
Well, the JRA certainly has fantastic information on their website, and the lots of things that you can dig into. If you're not familiar with the Japanese racing, you should get familiar. And I do a lot of podcasts for the harness racing for Sweden, and the more you get familiar with it, these different places that have that they're racing and stuff, it's fantastic. I think the level of excitement from people in these other places, how much they revere horse racing, and really how much they appreciate it, the crowds, how much that's bet on these races. So I don't know. I think it's awesome to get into, some of these other circuits, especially, when you're unfamiliar, because when you do get familiar, that it's possible to make money.
100%. I can't speak highly enough about the Japanese racing product and the international racing product. And speaking about Swedish harness racing, I know it's off topic for today's conversation, but I did have the pleasure of going to, I'm going to butcher it, Savalia this past year. I saw Edison Hatter there.
Savalia, yeah.
Savalia. It was a beautiful day of racing. I really enjoyed it. So I have to go back.
Well, we talked a little about this weekend. I have to get some more Breeders' Cup thoughts from you. I know you gave Pete a good rundown last week, but there's some horses that I'm interested in, because I'm doing some trip notes and things. And a horse that I'm definitely interested in is Awesome Result, who should show up for the distaff. 7 for 7 so far. If you watch some of her replays, she's very, very talented.
Indeed, I entirely agree. A great point to bring up this really exciting 4-year-old filly by Justify. She has looked really good in her races so far. And I want to bring up an important point. I believe this information may be up in the paid section of In the Money Media at a later date. But I was able to chart out the Annette Kiba speed figures for all of the 19 horses planned to enter the Breeders' Cup, set to come over for the Breeders' Cup at least. And when charting her speed figures, and again, we use Annette Kiba because we don't have buyer figures or time form figures for the horses unless they run outside of Japan or in the US in the case of buyer. And her Annette Kiba figures are right there in line and or are higher than those of Marsh Lorraine, the Breeders' Cup Distaff winner from several years ago, and Loves Only You as well, the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf winner. So this filly is really exciting. She has tons of upside. She's paired 3 109 Annette Kiba speed figures in a row. And we're thinking it may be about 7 points higher than buyer. So we can safely say she's at least gotten 100, 101, 102 if it were translated to the buyer scale. Visually, she's very impressive. And I think she would definitely be on my ticket come Breeders' Cup Distaff Day.
Absolutely. And with all the money that Torpedo Anna and Idiomatic are going to take, and the amount of speed that those two have, she seems to be very tactical, able to sit off and make that big run. It's almost effortless, the stride that she has. Just very, very impressed with her. Right now on Odds Checker, she's right around 10-1. I think that's you could get close to that on the day, depending on how the top two get played.
Agree entirely. Yeah. Because think about all the people that are going to play that horizontally and just, take, Idiomatic, or single Idiomatic, or, oh my goodness, you just said the other filly. My mind is
Torpedo
blanking.
Anna, yeah.
Torpedo Anna. I have her T-shirt at home. It's one of those days. But yeah, how can I forget the Grizzly? 10-1 seems like a gift for her, to be entirely honest. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you about one more, and it's a 2-year-old colt that's pointing for the juvenile, and it's Akoro Azael. It's now 1 for 2 so far. Really impressive first time out, and then finished 5th that second time out. What sort of buzz you hearing about that one?
Hearing quite a bit of buzz, especially about his name. At first seeing the romanization of his name, it looked like perhaps like a German name of some sort. But when I look at it in Japanese, his name is just Ecology. It looks like that's what it seems like. So I'm not sure how they're going to romanize that on the day. But yeah, this colt is really exciting. He last out won in the Kana Stakes. He was the heavy favorite and won like it. Received a 97 Kiba speed figure for that. And he's a leader. He likes to lead and not look back. So it'll be interesting to see if they employ the same tactic in the Breeders' Cup. He's pointing towards the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. So the draw will be very, very important for him. But there's no reason why he can't give a good account of himself. His figures are right there. Again, if we plot him against current 2-year-olds pointing for the sprint, the turf sprint, he's right there if we can convert his figures to buyers. Again, this is a rough estimate of roughly 7 points ahead than Kiba speed figures are. But I would definitely consider him, and not just because I'm a JRA fangirl, but just because he could also provide good value in a very deep field.
Well, Alex, always good to hear from you. Definitely love hearing your opinion. Can't wait to really dig into some of that work that you're doing for the JRA, especially for the Breeders' Cup, getting those speed figures, speed numbers. So if you're interested in that, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Alex, hope to talk to you soon. This was fun.
Great
So
stuff,
fun.
team.
Thanks so much, Mikey. Have a great day.
Love hearing from you, Alex. Thank you so much. We'll be talking soon. All right, we'll let Alex go about her day. We will do some leaderboard work right here. Let's see which one I have up on screen first. This looks like the playoffs. So you can see some people in very good shape as far as advancing going. The key number right now, though, 1330. That's the cut line. So right now, Jackson on the outside looking in. You can see there with his two, David Pierce, Paul Weiser, Nathan Kaczynski, Chris Weichel, Julie LeBoyko, Matthew Machunkin, Andrew Uretsky, and Greg Kingma. They're all needing things to happen. And the folks who are in position right now, Michael Saletta, John Bull III, James Millar, Stephen McNatten, Michael Domable, who I failed to mention before when I was talking about in the money participation here, Mark Henderson, John Maslin, Matt Miller in position as of now, Stephen Grafina, and Derek Cuno. But all to play for with 4 races left to go, including this 5th race at Keeneland. That was good stuff. I enjoyed you getting Alex to talk a little bit more about some of the stuff we're doing for Plus, for Breeders' Cup, and also, of course, for just hearing about the JRA this weekend. Good work on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was great. And she's very good, obviously very tied into the JRA and, just all those horses that are coming over for the Breeders' Cup. That information is going to be priceless, especially if you can get speed figure work coming into that. That's something that really, that's going to be of limited access to many. So definitely an advantage if you can access that and be able to, especially at Del Mar, where the Japanese horses have fared well in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, those 2 wins a couple of years ago were one of the stories of the Breeders' Cup. I have a video coming out with our friends at Breeders' Cup, which is basically my most memorable moments of the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar so far. And Love's Only You makes an appearance on that list, becoming the first Japanese winner to be joined an hour later by the second in the form of Marsh Lorraine, a photo that still amazes me. Didn't go the way of Dunbar Road, but that's another story. That's a story for another time. We're talking about leaderboards. Let's take a look at the other one, the one for the big seat today. Pat Qualiero in first place, but a very tight group. I'll just run through the top 10. David Browning, a former tour winner, Jack DeCenso, Mike Sylvester, Rick Vasquez, Tim Herbeth, James Casey, John Nichols, good to see John on there, Chris Inman, and Daniel Zaretsky rounding out that top 10. Once again, all to play for as far as that goes. We'll see who ends up winning that $10,000 seat. We'll see who ends up in position to win a $10,000 seat next year. Programming wise, Mike, I think why don't we look at these 2 races and just do exactly what we did the last time, assuming we get our man Jackson, like we said, currently on the outside looking in, but certainly all to play for. Maybe I'll start off satisfying my own curiosity of who he has in this upcoming race at Keeneland, and he is split ticketed with the 3 and the 2. Interesting to see how he approached this with, just like he said he was going to on BCBC Diaries. Strongest opinions, he goes double-barreled, and then other races he wants to split. Looks like he's in pretty good shape now. Wildly different prices with his 2 runners in here. He's got one of the favorites, but interesting to see him just try and go and punch that ticket to the final table here right now. taking a 15-1 shot in the form of this 3. What do you think of either of Jackson's picks, and who do you like in here?
I thought was an exceptionally difficult race, really. I think it's really hard to trust anyone in here. And you can see the races being bet that way. You have 3 horses that are within 2 to 2.5 to 1, the 1, the 2, the 9. I think the 1 would be the horse of those 3 that I would be most interested in. Just Vicky Oliver, obviously 2 wins at the meet so far, and that barn is going well. If you look back to June 22nd on the 1, Nice finally got the maiden broke with a dominant win by 8 lengths there. And then they liked that race so much, they tried the Monmouth Oaks. Well, ran into some horses there that really, I think, were a little too tough for her. Then tried the grass in a big pot race at Kentucky Downs. Horse raced pretty well, considering the horse never seen the grass before, maybe, but to eat it. So I don't mind this horse coming off that race going long here. Maybe they discovered that this horse maybe wants a little more distance. A mile and 5/16 last time at Kentucky Downs, finished up very strongly from off the pace. I do think that she's going to be running late. So of the 3 horses that are bet, I think that would be the one that I would like. If I had a split entry, say another one, I would maybe try a price, and it would be the 10, Midsummer March, 3rd time back, McPeak. You get Hernandez here, his main man, now 24-1. But if you look back, this horse, showed some talent at 2, tried the Fairgrounds Oaks. This horse, I do think maybe could be a little hidden here. I didn't like the trip last time, tried the turf a couple times. I don't know. In a really wide open race, they've tried this horse long several times. Maybe the distance could suit. 20-some to 1, I think, at 23-1 right now. A use for me. I do think maybe could blow it up.
I like that idea. We got a couple of big prices. Folks are playing along at home and wanting to join in. Some very good ideas there. We'll see how it plays out in the 7th race at Keeneland, and how it plays out in the 2 contests we have going, our direct qualifier to the BCBC, as well as our semifinals in Horse Player Happy Hour, where we're winnowing 20 players down to 10. Just a reminder, we're going to do this again. If you're joining us in the middle of things, we're going to do this again next week. Should also mention that if you want to play in the direct qualifier, yes, you can just put up the $179 and play, but you also have the opportunity to feed your way in. HorsePlayers.com runs daily feeders to these games on the Thursdays, so make sure to check that out as well. HorsePlayers.com for the full schedule of events, as we're nearly loaded here for the next race at Keeneland. Do you have a monitor up? How far behind are our friends at Belmont at the Big A, Mike?
Right now, it's 8 minutes to post at Belmont.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and they're off at Keeneland.
I see it. You happy enough with where you are here right out of the gates?
Well, I mean, the 10 broke sharp, so they're obviously well met with that one. Going to fall into, I think, the right stalking trip. So for a big price here, and you got the outside post at Keeneland, this is not a bad place to be whatsoever.
No.
The 1 broke sharp, but then sort of took back a little, so I don't mind that either. I would expect her from off the pace here too.
The 2 we mentioned before, one of Jackson's 2 in a nice position on the lead first quarter, just under 24. His big long shot, the 3, and the white bridle, coming up into a joint second right now. But I agree, your 10's just sort of cruising along, going to go wide, but certainly has a chance, if good enough, at least to fill in something in terms of the number, as the Jackson Muniz pair now 1-2 on the lead. You like the way anybody in particular is traveling here?
I think the 1 looks good, but the top 2 look tough right now. If I was Jackson, I'd be real happy. I mean, these 2 seem to be getting away. We'll root for Jackson. He's got a vested interest. I'm just sitting here watching races.
He could. That's true. He can't advance 2 entries, and there's a long way to go in this race. If this 3 were to somehow find from here, which is looking unlikely, it would still be valuable to get the 2. But yeah, the 3 is done for the day. The 2 is plugging on, though. There's a major challenge coming from the 1 who you identified as running well, but the 2 responds, and this will be a real horse race down to the wire.
This is good for Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson's going to get home with the 2, And if you bet the 1, you're going to get place points. And honestly, in a contest with 20 players where the top 10 advance, the place points on the 1 could easily prove to be definitive in a spot like this. So we'll see how that goes in terms of the leaderboard. Well, we could update it when that goes official, depending on how much they drag heels at Belmont at the Big A, but maybe a good idea to go to that Belmont at the Big A race. I got to pull my PPs back to Thursday, and we'll jump over there, and then we'll figure out how we want to present this information. 6 minutes, but they're out on the track already, so that's a good sign that they're not going to be too tardy. Looks like a pretty good betting board here with a lot of horses between 3 and 6 to 1. You've got 5 horses in there in that range, and then another at 7 to 1. What they might call a good betting race or a good betting board here. Did you have one in particular you were interested in?
I don't really love this race. They all look very similar to me. A lot of these horses have really been racing a lot to maybe try to break the maiden. So I went with a first timer. I would say in a race where horses like to have proven that they don't like to win, I'm going to find a horse that hasn't shown anything so far, and that's the 8 drive through. First timer for Atras, taking a little bit of money here, 9 to 1 on the board, and has decent enough pedigree. The barn is 19% first out, and I would say well meant here. It gets Lasix. In a race that really has not much form, I'll take a shot with the horse that's getting a little bit of action, and I do think that they are probably going to try with. And you get Manny Franco also. He's 23% for this barn, so it's the main barn jockey. The works are okay. If you look back to the October 6th work, 8 out of 112. And that was the big gate work. I'll try the 8 as a first timer, and certainly, but you could go so many different ways in here.
There's no doubt it has an open look. I thought, is there possibly a pace play in this horse trying the dirt for the first time? I didn't realize this is our last race at Aqueduct today. They have that loaded card. They have all those races on Saturday. Take the Gold, a horse that I have my eye on. Doesn't exactly scream turf breeding, but the horse put up some sectionals first time out to suggest that if can stand up on turf, could be interesting. And there is, you dig back in this pedigree here, there is a whiff of turf. So I thought Take the Gold might be a little bit interesting. Certainly one for money, 20 to 1 on the morning line. And I didn't see a ton of money in picks either, and yet 7 to 1 on the board. So very, very interesting to me.
This could be the lowest Tomlinson number I've ever seen at 132 for this horse. I'm not sure that they make them much lower than this, but I mean there is a whiff somewhere of turf.
Well, this is where so Delta Gold is the dam, right? And her dam sire is with approval, so that's a serious turf influence.
It is,
and so I there's nothing in the family, there's nothing direct. I mean, look, I like Tomlinson numbers. I mean, I guess I don't even know why I said that. They're only based on the male line, so I just don't see how they are actually relevant. So, I used to use them. I at this point, I like to poke through and look through the pedigrees. I mean,
this horse is certainly taking money. I mean, obviously 21 morning line, you're getting 8 to 1 on the board. So somebody likes this horse, and
Giant Surprise has as bad numbers as you will ever see on turf. 1 for 50 turf sprinting, 1 for 52 turf routing. So I'm sure that's where that comes from. But Giant Surprise himself by Giant's Causeway. So, I mean, I think they can turf a little. And then, like I said, you got that with approval on the dam side. I'm not ruling it out. And this is a horse that put up some pace numbers. I think is a little bit interesting here, dropping in class significantly, trying the surface, which, like you said, in a race where there's some who just have exposed form that isn't exciting, like the 2 runner or the 3 runner. I mean, those are tough horses for me to take. The favorite is comparatively unexposed, but I mean, aren't they? They're betting on the drop and Clement, but I mean, I don't know. That horse is no bargain at 7 to 2. I think we're headed in the right direction, looking for unexposed strangers in this spot. My Life Story, the 9, another just like very, very exposed. Already had 3 tries at the bottom here, these maiden state bred 40s, and couldn't get the job done. That's tricky. I mean, at least joking, Scherzando, the 10 is first time at the level, but it is, I mean, it's tough to swallow over 25.
Yeah, over 25. Now if you look back to some of those races from last year, they're solid. There was still money back there too.
Yeah.
And that wasn't an easy race back in April. I mean, better lucky than good. That's a decent horse, and finally drops and gets a tag. I mean, maybe, but again, these are the kind of races that a lot of things can happen, and the board is very reflective. You have a 7-2 favorite and a couple other horses that are right there between 3.5, 4.5 to 1. That's the kind of race that I want to look for strangers, like you said.
It is interesting, though. A few of these, the par for this is a 67 on the buyer scale. And you actually have a few of these more exposed horses who've run within a couple of points of that. So it's not like I'm like, oh, these other horses can't win. They're just not appealing to me at the prices, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
If this was if it was this same race and nobody had gotten within a bit of the par, that's where it's definitely going to be a first or second time starter for me. And I'm going to bet that opinion much more aggressively. But yeah, I mean, I think you make some good points on drive through. I mean, that's an interesting. Central bankers numbers have leveled out with firsters. They used to be, I swear they used to be a lot stronger than just the sort of average 10%. So we'll have to see as far as that goes. Let me look into this, looking into the dam a little bit. I'm curious to see what we can see. I mean, there's some ability here. I mean, I'm interested. 0 for 11 though for the siblings first out. That's not great, but not many of them were racing this cheap.
Yeah, and the barn likes to pop first out. So and if the horse has any ability, you know that they're trying, and that's really what I'm interested in. You see some barns that they're not shooting for first out; they're just giving a horse a race. This barn has proven that they're willing to, get a horse ready to go first time out. So and 10 to 1, I would say not completely dismissed on the board.
No, that's taking money for a horse with this profile.
Yeah,
I think the two that we mentioned, the 5 and the 8, both are.
Bob's definitely taking money with 70 to 1 first time out, and now shows up here and is 11 to 1 and was 7 to 1 at one point. So, certainly sneaky action there for that one.
Yes, we'll take a look and we'll get back to the playoffs. Just giving an update. James Millar moving up the leaderboard in that last race. John Bull III, Mike Saletta, Stephen McNatt, and Michael Dommable, Matt Miller, Jackson, as we noted, Paul Weiser, Mark Henderson, and John Maslin. That's the top 10 as of right now, but really no separation. Stefan Gravina in 11th, 17, 18, just $2.14 behind John M. So yeah, I mean, and again, even Greg Kingma, who's yet to connect, has a terrific opportunity just because, $6 is only $13 from John Maslin. That's a 4-to-1 shot with a price in the other place would put him up in there with 3 bullets to fire. Greg has the 2 in this spot for what that's worth. And let's see where Jackson is with his entry. He needs the 1. Where's Matt Miller? Has the 2 as well. We'll see. You can obviously, one fun thing about horseplayers.com is you can go and look at these leaderboards and see, you can follow players. You can see who a handicapper you like is playing. Michael Dommel, he does great work on inthemoneypodcast.com. Go see who he's played. Obviously same thing with Jackson or Chris Couples or any of our regulars. And speaking of the 2 runners, spoken bluntly, that one makes the top with Scherzando, the very logical dropping favorite with the 25 starts out there in second. I was hoping Take the Gold would be a little closer even, but in a not out of it third, but probably already being asked. What do you think about your 10 to 1 shot here? You all right?
Yeah, I didn't get away that great. I mean, it'd sort of be, I think really would have to be a mile the best to win from where he's at, pretty much last right now and in traffic. I do think we'll move forward late and probably will get a lot out of this. He's still coming, but he's not.
It's tough. They don't like to pass at this level, and nobody's passed yet. As spoken bluntly, is still in front of Scherzando. Here comes a 9, My Life Story with a big late run, though, who looks like going to be a huge threat to this spoken bluntly. Well, yeah, going to go right by, as a matter of fact. We'll see if Spoken Bluntly can hang on for second. Looks like that horse will. So it comes 9-2. Just as I was saying, they don't like to pass. The 9 makes a pretty eye-catching move, actually. Go back and take another quick look at that one, My Life Story. This was an over 10 who'd been exposed at the level. This is just one of those things, not a horse that I'm feeling too bad about. Rosario, I think, fit the horse very well. Rode him colder than he had before. This is one where sometimes when Rosario's riding well, he's a rider more than most. Not because I just think he's better or anything, but he changes horses' form from time to time because he's unique in his approach. When you see him physically, he doesn't look like other jockeys. You see he can get more out of a front runner. He can get more out of a closer at times. I expect him to do differently. And maybe that if I'm going to say there was an angle I missed, I'm going to point to that one. But a big late run from My Life Story gets the job done here. When your next guest arrives, we can throw it to you. If he's tardy, we'll keep it here until we have a leaderboard update. So we'll figure that out. I don't know, Jackson, if you're watching and want to pop
Hopefully
in.
He has a link. That would be
He does. I did send him a link.
All
that is not on me.
No, I wasn't. I was just, sometimes that can be a thing. But
it can be a thing. But no, it is not. That is not the case here. Though, you know what? I only texted him. Maybe he needs it in email. I'll send it again. It was a good note from you. And there he is. Okay, great. So we'll do that same gimmick that we did before. I'm going to let you guys take it away here, and then we're going to be good until really the next race at Keeneland, which is in 16 minutes. So I think you do one or the other, and then you'll rinse, wash, repeat. So I'm going to take a little time out and leave it to you boys.
Next up on the show, current player in HorsePlayer Happy Hours contest. We're recording this on Thursday during HorsePlayer Happy Hour, but we're going to look at Santa Anita for Saturday, the pick 6. A guy that's been doing lots of pods with me and certainly has a fantastic opinion. Jackson Muniz, welcome to the Players Podcast again.
What's going on, Mikey P? How you doing?
Doing great. Having fun here with PTF, watching races, rooting for you in the contest, and doing some handicapping. Been hot lately, so hoping to stay hot. Looking at Santa Anita for Saturday, pick 6. I thought maybe an interesting sequence. We've got the $2 pick 6 back in California. How much does that interest you?
If it carries over again on Friday, that Saturday one could really interest me because I like a couple strong opinions at the end of the card on Saturday. So we'll see how Friday goes first.
Let's jump into that pick 6 for Saturday, October 19th. Starts in race number 4. We're starting on the grass here. It's a 1 mile turf event. 2-year-olds, state breds here, maiden special weights. Jackson, how are we going to light the candle here?
Yeah, I mean, these Calbred 2-year-olds, they usually just take turns beating each other. I know there's a big favorite in here, but I'm going to be 3 deep. I am going to use the 2. I think it's Renatus for Antonio Garcia. Ran well last time at Del Mar on the turf, had some trouble. Finished a pretty good 3rd in that spot. Should move forward again. But I am going to try the 4 Chili Philly for Tim Yakteen, who's having a really good meet. I think my form doesn't have odds. I think I saw, though, it was like 12-1 morning line. Another one that had traffic coming out of that same race, and I liked him quite a bit in that spot. So I'm going to give him one more chance at a price. And then the 5 Only After Midnight for Phil D'Amato, Antonio Frezu. I think he's about 8-1, and he had a lot of trouble on debut. That was a pretty good field, I think, he faced on, I believe it was California Ground Day. So I'm going to give him a chance stretching out, getting in the turf course.
Yeah, agreed totally. Just on 2 of those, really. I'm just going to use the 2 and the 5. Only After Midnight. Connections play here, D'Amato, Frezu. No chance first time. Really didn't take any money either. Stumbled early and checked. This is a much better spot here in a race that really lacks any sort of standouts. And then I think the 2 is obvious. Renatus, even money on the morning line there. Raced pretty well first time out. Closed up to be 3rd. Barrios sticks. Probably should be better here. That one got in the grass and certainly improved. So just 2 and 5 there to start that pick 6 on Saturday. Race 5 here, and this is an open 16 claimer going a mile on the dirt. And I thought a pretty interesting race, but the 2 8-5 joint venture just looks obvious, especially off that last line. Just galloped there on October the 4th. comes right back in here, really, quick back in the box for D'Amato. Off that 84 figure, looks to get the front again, and I think that is going to leave a lot of these chasing early. If I were to back up, maybe the one Taishan 4-1 morning line for Baltus, and this horse just kind of gets checks all the time at these open claiming levels. If you look, I mean, third, second, third, last 4 starts runs very similar figures, right in that between 70 to 80 range. You get an inside post. This horse likes to come from off of it. Probably needs the 2 to get roughed up to maybe have a chance, but maybe could. And this apprentice jockey Carmona, I think, is doing very well. He's putting horses in the right spots. That weight break could help this one. So 2-1 for me in race 5. How'd you see it?
Yeah, Tayshawn's a horse. I have lost so much money on that guy. He runs a lot of races and he takes a lot of money and he's 3 for 40. So I just couldn't get there with him. I'm throwing him away.
Okay.
I try to get there with the 4, actually lands down on the stretch out. I thought he had the chance to be the best speed in this spot. If you've been paying attention to San Anita at all, it's been all speed on the dirt. It looks like the Del Mar meet was. And usually I feel like it's pretty fair track, but it's just been speed. This horse coming out of 5 furlong races at Los Al. Ran a couple really good races, I thought, at Del Mar, some salty fields there in the summer meet. And if he can get forward in this spot, get to the front, he might not look back. Again, he 4 for 6 at San Anita, loves his track, just a total speed play in this spot. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also going to use the 3 Zimba Warrior, who I just thought it was obvious coming out of a tougher race again at Del Mar. Ran a couple good ones in the summer. Maldonado, he'll be coming from off the pace.
Yeah, interesting on the 4. I mean, really, 26 lifetime starts and really has only had 1 race at a mile or longer. That was on the grass, but certainly likes to win. And you could be right. It probably has to get in front of the 2. That could be the one. Those 2 could push each other and make this race a lot more interesting. So, but interesting there, 10-1 morning line, especially if this horse could clear, likes to win, likes to track. I might have to add that one on the B line on your recommendation there in race number 5. Race 6, going to the grass. We've got 6 furlongs here. Maiden 50s, Jackson. I thought pretty wide open now.
Yeah, I agree. I had a tough time with this race. They all look kind of the same, and a lot of them are coming out of a 2-turn race. So a lot of them are cutting back, and a few of them are coming out of a 5 furlong turf sprint. So they're all doing different things in this spot. Mm-hmm. I try to get there with just 2. I am gonna use the favorite, number 10, Prosper. I'm assuming he's a favorite. He's got some fast figures in this field. He'll be forwardly placed. I don't know what happened last time. Kind of just spit the bed after a slow start, but should be forward. Has a good outside draw. Don't love that they're dropping him in for a tag after paying $1.7 million for him, but he's a late 4-year-old. I think they know what they have at this point, obviously, and this is where he belongs. So going to use him on the A line, as well as number 9, Crazy Cavalier, who actually won at this level on debut at San Anita earlier this year, but got DQ'd, came back against much tougher at Del Mar, going 2 turns, and neither of those trips just didn't work out, and he was probably in and over his head. Going to give him another chance here on the cutback. Should be mid-pack, maybe just behind the speed. Those are the 2 I'm going to use in this spot.
Agree on the 9. That's my top pick, Crazy Cavalier. And you mentioned 1 for maiden 50, but was DQ'd. Rispoldi back here, and you get a drop. So I do think that one does play, especially third back. But I would use others. I think I'd spread in here the 7 and the of the Brave. Just a pedigree play here. I mean, Om's has started out on fire, 33% with first-time turfers. You get a first-time starter for Knapp, who is 20% with a positive ROI with those types. You get the main stable jockey here. So I think lots to like, especially with some of these horses that are going to be bet that are outside here. That one could be interesting. I think the 2 is another one, a first timer, Phoenix Flying. Now, Papa Padromo, as far as I'm concerned, you need to use every horse that he's putting in right now. He's just absolutely on fire. A lot of his horses that really don't look like much on paper are firing. I mean, he's currently 11 for 29 at the meet. So, the first timer here, I would not leave any of his horses out. I think you need to use that one. And then a little bit, maybe the 1 Caribbean King. This one is third back for Miller. It has, a couple okay lines. This is another one that 1 for maiden 50, got DQ'd for purse money, was racing versus winners for a while and racing pretty well. And now it's back in against maiden. So again, a horse that can do that, I think belongs here. You get an inside post. You could do worse here in a pretty wide open race. So I'd be spready. I like the 9, but I would use a little 7, 2, and 1 there on the B line.
Like your ideas on the 2. I might have to use him somewhere because he's just been on fire.
Yeah, it's almost like an automatic at this point, the way he's going. So Race number 7. We're going back to the dirt. Another maiden claimer here. Maiden 32s, Jackson, 5.5 furlongs. I'm just too deep here. I'm going to try another firster. My Catherine Rose on top, 6-1 morning line. Now, this barn doesn't necessarily really win with first timers, but the sire is pretty good. 16% with 2-year-old firsters. And I just think that this race has a bunch of state-bred maiden types that really didn't fire very well first out. You really can't trust any of them. I want a stranger from, some pedigree that maybe should be able to fire early. So I'll try that one. And they reach for Maldonado here. I do think that means that they're going to, maybe show some speed, and maybe this horse jumps to the front and just everyone chases around. So I'll use that one. And the 7 of Venice 5. Now, 5-2 morning line here. This horse raced pretty well. First time out, was off of it and then passed a few horses. The apprentice jockey sticks. You get an okay figure compared to everybody else in the race. I mean, really, you have to kind of really reach to find something here. I'm 5'7", but really, you could talk me into pretty much anything.
Yeah, usually these are the kind of races I love. The 2-year-old maiden race, claiming ones especially, because I just take the horses that I've ran before, and whichever one shows speed usually keep going. This one isn't really the case here. I had a tough time with it too. I'm gonna be 4 deep. I'm gonna use the 4 and 5 first time starters. Both have some decent works hidden in there. Not gonna be surprised if either of them can run a little bit, especially against this group. I'm gonna use a 6, Mujer de Oro. His first race came against state bred maiden claimers, but he showed a lot of speed in that one. Split the field. It was a pretty decent effort, I thought. The figure came back okay. It was only about 8 or 9 points below the favorite to the outside. That's Venice 5, who you mentioned for Baltus. Baltus is usually much better second time out, so not going to be surprised at all if that one improves in this spot, especially after the poor start he had last time.
Race 8, and this is probably the best race of this sequence here, and it's a restricted stake. It's the Lure going a mile, and if you remember Lure, he's a multiple-time Breeders' Cup Mile winner. Fantastic horse. It's a really nice race here, Jackson. 9 going to gate. They're only going for 80,000. Where'd you end up?
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a big double in this spot. I love a horse in this race, and I love a horse in the next race. And
nice.
I've talked about the Anita lowered their takeout for the late double. It's 15% takeout and $5 minimums. So I'm
$5. I like it.
Been seeing some good payouts, so I'm all over the one horse in this spot, and that's Mi Hermano Ramon. That last race was pretty live. We already saw Air Force Bred come back to get second in the $1 million race. Cabo Spirit won the $1 million race, California Crown Day. Escape Artist was 5th in that race, came back and won last weekend. So super live, super slow pace that day. This horse had no chance, just toss it out. Didn't happen. Actually, I came back with a top buyer in that race. So I'm expecting him to take a big jump forward. Should be more forwardly placed. And I liked his form as a 3-year-old. He went to Keeneland, got 4th against the likes of Mustache, Webslinger. Those are some good horses. And then just didn't quite work out as it continued to stretch him out. I think he's going to get, like I said, a perfect trip. He'll be right behind the speed. I'm expecting a big effort out of him.
I don't mind him. He was more of a B for me. I like the 2 a little bit, Mana Rose. Now, 5-2 morning line, that might be a little low. But if you look back to June here at Santa Anita, popped a really nice race, 104 buyer there. And after that, went to Del Mar, ended up at 5 furlongs. That might not be really what he wanted to do there. Really, that was sort of a dud race. Came back at Los Al and galloped on the dirt. This horse is running fast races. I mean, huge numbers. Now, he might be better on the dirt than he is the turf, but, that one line there is intriguing to me. The speed is intriguing to me. He could prove difficult to catch. He's full of confidence. You get Maldonado. This horse is going to be in front here. And I think he'll be higher than his morning line, considering there's other ones in here. I think the 1 will get bet off that 8-1 morning line because he just looks a little bit too obvious to me to be that high. The 9 is going to take money in here also, SEAL Team. That's for Mandela. You get Rispoli. Now, this horse won the Twilight Derby back last year. Now shows up in this spot. He beat Silver Knot in that race. This could be more of a prep for Mandela. I'd imagine they're thinking maybe, bigger and better for this one. It draws outside, but certainly plenty of class, plenty of speed, likes the racetrack. That one's going to have to be dealt with late. And I could see the 4 a little bit, but I'd be heavy 2. I'd use the 1 because I do agree with you. I think that horse is going to move forward in this spot, and I'm not really sure what to do with the 9. I think that one would be sort of maybe a fade for me, despite that one's class.
Yeah, if the 9 had a prep, he'd be 6-5 in this spot. I mean, that was a good field he beat last year. It's just, is he ready for this from the 9 post? And, bigger fish to fry down the road, I would assume.
Last race for Saturday, 2-year-olds here, and this is an optional claiming, another one like a starter allowance type race, 6 furlongs. A lot of maiden claimers that won last time Jackson stepped in here. You say you love one, so who you got?
I'm going with the rail horse. Don't Tell Tamo. It just feels like one of those races where whoever gets the lead is going to win, and he's going to be at the shortest way around the track. He had the best figure from that debut effort, and I think I was there that day. And it wasn't a great field, but they opened up 9-10 lengths in the stretch. They were much the best. Got claimed out of that race from Peter, and now JJ shows up for connections that he doesn't usually ride for, which is a really good sign in my opinion. So I'm just hope he breaks and takes his field a long way.
Yeah, I was on the exact same horse, really. I think that he's quite obvious. Now, he's 2-1 morning line. And there's a lot of horses that won last time. A lot of them state bred at Los Al. And they show up here. This one gets claimed, gets stepped up a little bit, and should be, I think, speed from the rail. Looks fastest early. I agree with you. The Hernandez showing up here. He looks tough to me, and he would be single A for me also. In race number 9 on Saturday. Okay, Jackson, pick 6, $2 multiple. This looks like a sequence, especially with some of the horses that you like late that might be approachable for you.
Yeah, it definitely looks like one you can keep under, $100. And if I can do that, I might get involved for sure.
All right, well, check out some of those alternate wagers at Santa Anita this meet. So $3 late pick 3. You have the $3 turf, all turf pick 3 you can jump in on. That $5 late double that Jackson mentioned. If you saw that double on Monday, paid over $2,000 with that 30-1 winner on Monday in that last race. Jackson, can you hang with me and do another Keeneland segment for the weekend?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll be back right after this.
Beautiful. What good work. I love listening to you guys. Some really good thoughts. And you got me pumped. I haven't looked at Santa Anita yet, but you got me pumped for betting it. That sounds really very fun and cool, and maybe even approachable sequence. We'll see how it turns out. Jackson, how you feeling about this final table situation? You feel like you're going to punch your ticket?
I felt good in that last race. That exacto was worst case scenario for me. The 2-9. I just needed anything else. So we'll see. We need this 4 horse to get home.
Okay, that'll put you in a position you feel a little more comfortable with. It sounds like. Let's see. I haven't even refreshed these leaders.
Right on the bubble he is right now.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Last outside looking in at the moment, but we'll see. I mean, you a little bit more work to be done. That's all. Let's take a look. Oh, either of you guys have a thought? Well, Jackson, tell us who you picked here real quick, and then Mike give a quick thought as well.
Yeah, I just thought it was 4-11 in the spot, and just based on the post position, I went with the 4 Saffron Moon for it's Chad, it's Pratt. He'll be right behind the speed. No one's really come from too far out of it at Keeneland. It's just been so dry. It's been a lot of forwardly placed horses have been dominating on the turf, so that he's getting bet like he should win.
That is not true.
Yeah, not in the 1.5 races. That doesn't count.
You guys can fight about this because we have been talking, and we saw a closer in a turf sprint earlier.
That is true. That is true.
But we'll see how it plays out here in this one. Who did you like, Mike?
I did try to talk Jackson into the 11 this morning, and that was a brutal trip last time, and I thought this horse could be forward, and it's going to be very difficult to beat in this race.
Forward is correct. This horse has made the top from that 11, but sometimes that getting over from that outside post, those little it can be subtle. Horse didn't look to be exerting itself terribly hard, but sometimes that can tell on a horse. Meanwhile, your 4, Jackson, a little bit buried at the moment, but early days here, I wouldn't be too nervous yet. 23-3 for that opening quarter. How are you feeling, Jackson?
Yeah, he's on the rail, and there's a long shot going with the 11. I'm sure Mikey doesn't like that, but it's good for me.
Not at all, really. I hate it. I hope he takes back a little bit.
Yeah, and now they're starting to separate too, which is definitely not good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. That was an interesting sort of delayed run to the lead, you might call it, from the 1, who's now in front, 47-2. But I'll say this: you didn't take the bait. Your rider didn't take the bait on the 11, just sort of let that one go almost as if not in the race, and is still in a pretty smooth stalking position in second. Meanwhile, your 4 is showing some run, but still very far back, Jackson. Got to get going from there.
And Pratt, we trust. He'll find a way. He'll find a way.
He is loaded, though. He has horse.
He's double
got
hand.
Nowhere to go, though. He is
buried. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be the horse will make a move late.
He needs a star mystery finish.
It's too late for that one, I think. And that's still absolutely stymied trying to get the split, but now through. But I mean, the bird has flown. It sure looks like. We'll see. Really reaching for the line with the 4. But, I mean, any kind of trip and you win.
I did try to help him here. He did not want to listen to me.
He did.
I told him I love the 11. I told anyone that would listen I love this horse today.
Well, only one player, it looks like. Actually, I got to see these opening. It looks like only one player has the 11, and you're ahead of that player, Jackson. So you're going to move up, but everybody has the 4. So we'll see, not literally, but we'll see what that means here in the penultimate race. But yeah, I mean, you were supremely unlucky there, and Mike, maybe a little bit. I want to say you were lucky, but your horse and rider also made some really good, did some really good stuff there, not getting phased.
Oh, the 11 race big there. That was a big race, especially against the track. I mean, the 4 was really racing with the track. The 11 was massive in this race.
I'll let you guys fight out this whole closer bias thing. I'll be honest. Because of Breeders' Cup prep, etc., I haven't been paying attention to the degree that I usually do. I will say
we can talk about that off air if he wants to, but
talk about it now. We've got time. There's 30 minutes till the next race.
I gotta sweat this out. It can never just let me have an easy win here. Never.
It never seems to work out that way. You'll get some money back. There's no doubt about it. And but yeah, we could do the math quickly here, but I don't, my brain isn't, focused on that right now. I'm going to wait and let it tell me. There are those watching who know where you stand. Meanwhile, of course, we'll have to play for in the sense of this last race. Are you split ticketed in the last? You are. It looks like you have the 6 and the 10. Will they be decent prices?
They're going to be priced. The last race I thought was so wide open. I took prices hoping even if they get second, I'm going to get, $10, $15 out of it.
Who do you have there? Who do you have in the last?
I have the 6 and the 10.
That's a tough race. That last race is a really tough race.
Who did you end up picking?
More time on that race than the other 7 combined, probably.
That's pretty funny.
Brutal.
Definitely a good one to split in that case. But yeah, big prices, 15-1 and 20-1 on Nick Tamero's morning line. Of course, Nick will be part of our In the Money Plus coverage as well, as will Jackson. We've got it's going to be a real team effort putting that together, folks. We encourage you to sign up for that DRF Breeders' Cup package, but we also encourage you to take a look at what we've got cooking on the In the Money Plus side, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, the place to go to check that out. I guess it was tight for third. I wasn't really paying attention at that point. I was focused on the 1 and the 2. There's no doubt about those two, but a photo yet to be posted for this third race. And yeah, just looking quickly at this last at Keeneland, whose listed post time is only 20 minutes, interestingly, but I have a feeling that's going to go late. Who did you end up picking in here, Mike?
I was reaching for a price a little bit here with the 7 Greer's Gold, 10-1 morning line here. And it's Mott. You get Pratt. First time really didn't take much money at Ellis. Tough post in this horse's 2 starts. Tried the big pot there at Kentucky Downs and really didn't do much there. But get a big jockey switch here. This horse is bred for the dirt. And I do think should be better here in a pretty wide open race. It's really tough, though. I think that there's a lot of horses you could use. The 8, I think, is a possibility also coming out of the King's Plate. I like that horse in that race, actually. And so it'd be interesting to see this horse get to dirt with the hard spun out of a pleasantly perfect mare. Certainly wants to run all day, I do think. So it's interesting they ship down and end up in here.
Definitely. 11, 4, 5, 7, the unofficial still result at Keeneland. Taking a quick look at this race, there's no speed. What about Bourbon Society just to make the top and not quit? Is that this is an exposed horse, 8 starts. But this is probably one of the weaker fields. I don't know. It doesn't seem crazy to me. We were talking before about how these Wilkes runners can sometimes just continue to get incrementally better. I certainly don't love the horse, but if you made me throw a dart, if we're going to get something on the order of the 4-1 of the morning line, I don't mind Bourbon Society at all. Do you think this one will have any company for the lead? Will a jock get ambitious in here maybe?
I mean, this horse has had inside post. The Keeneland race was solid back in April, went up close, but couldn't finish it off whenever a big price. I don't know, could be forward here. Arietta's not necessarily known as a speed rider, though. So I don't know. I would say if this horse goes to the front, I'd be surprised. I don't think he gets the front here.
Interesting. Who did you put in the lead in here, Jackson?
I'm hoping it's a 6. And he second off a layoff, but as a 2-year-old, he was right up there in 6 furlong races on the lead.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Sprint speed, second off the bench.
Yeah, and Machado is going to redeem himself after the last race yesterday. That's
my God.
That poor kid. Like, I felt terrible for that kid. That's awful.
If folks didn't see. I mean, it's one of those things where it is awful, but you also have to be. And the bullying is not necessary, but you need to be prosecuted to the full extent that the stewards have, because it's just such a slippery slope. You can't just say, oh, he's a nice guy, he made a mistake. Like, you need to go away for a while, and you got to be hitting your pocketbook.
Now, I think in England, Pete, is it correct that like he would be suspended for 30 days for something like that, or like when a guy kind of makes a mistake, sort of, within the race, they do get suspended for like substantial amount of time.
That would be the minimum of what I would think would be acceptable. Just because if you can, I mean, the problem is it doesn't matter. It's an honest mistake. If you allow for not getting punished for an honest mistake severely, I mean, this is a gambling game, and the opportunities for larceny are myriad. So you've just got to, throw the book at him. But I agree in terms of, I think you can still say what I said and feel that online bullying has no place in the conversation. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think 100%. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, he's going to get attention for it. But everybody kind of can make errors. I mean,
exactly. Nobody's saying it's not like he should be banned for life, but it's got to be when the error is so fundamentally problematic to the engine that drives the entire sport, gambling, it has to be dealt with severely. That would be what I would say. Personal attacks still have no place in it, but very meaningful punishment.
The thing is this happens like once a year. Honestly, it really does. I mean, how many times we've seen Gulfstream when they're going, several times around, and somebody, rides to the finish line, and there's another lap to go. It happens all the time. This is nothing new.
That did actually happen a few years ago. I wish I could remember the jockey. Oh my God, that was egregious. It's hard when it's like when it so clearly costs the win. It takes it to another level of bad from a protecting the gambler's standpoint. Okay, so did we go official here? I think we went official here. Let's roll through this and on. This was a good conversation, but I'm not supposed to be you guys talking, not me. So let's take a look. First, we're going to do, which leaderboard is this? This is the playoffs. So we'll take a look at who is where. Michael Saletta, John Bull III, James Millar, Nathan Kaczynski, Stephen McNatton, Matt Miller right there. Michael Domable right behind him, David Pierce, Mark Henderson, Matthew McJunkin. So that's your 10 who have made it right now. And then we've got Paul Weiser, Andrew Uretsky, Jackson's first entry, Chris Weichel, John Maslin, Stefan Gravina, Jackson's second entry, Greg Kingma, Derek Cuno, Julie LeBoyko. So you got to hit here. And do you have to hit with a play? Can place points maybe get you there? Let's look.
As of now, place points will be enough. But we'll see if they change.
So I mean, 2 long shots, chance to place. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's what you're in an interesting
spot
here.
Yeah. You're live for sure.
Definitely drawing live. Nobody is out of it. I mean, Julie, who had such a great day last week, she would be in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, she with a 7-2 shot in the last, I think her race may be run, but most everybody else here, and maybe Derek in second could be in trouble. Yeah, Derek's probably in trouble here with that entry. But other than that, lots of opportunities to advance. We'll see how that plays out. Let me take a quick look at the overall one, and then I will go back into the penalty box and let you guys continue. Anthony Schiavone in first place now. Still haven't received confirmation whether or not it's the wrestling announcer, but thinking no. David Browning, Jim Settle double fisted with two different horses here in the last. Interesting opportunity, some low scores, interesting opportunity to get things done. Togo Travaglia, who's a loyal viewer and always very supportive of my Delphi horses, and my namesake looms boldly. Good to see his name on there. Mike Sylvester, Patrick Cortez, Steve Abelman, Chris Inman, and Tim Herboth rounding out that top 10. Okay, guys, I'm going to make this go away, and I'm going to go away. And Mike, you take it back over.
Well, back in here for round 2 Players Podcast, Jackson Muniz, Keeneland, Saturday. Pick 6, dollar pick 6 at Keeneland. Very interesting sequence, Jackson. I do think we have a couple graded stake races to look at. Let's jump in. Race number 5, maiden 100 claimers. You don't see a lot of 100 claiming tags for maidens. So basically de facto maiden specials, because I don't know how many horses would get claimed out of this race. Go with 6 furlongs. How are we going to kick this one off?
It was a tough spot. You got a lot of career maidens in here, and the 10's favorite at 2-1, but he's 0 for 11. He's been in the money 9 times. He's been second less than a length like 5 or 6 times. Not a horse I want to use, especially coming out of Parks. The 9 to his outside, another one, just career maiden, has speed, but he's going to get pressured by the 10. But a couple others, like the 1, 2, and 5, they have a race here and there that like give them a big shot, but then they have a couple others that are just not good at all. I just didn't know what to do. I'm going with the fresh faces, the 2 first-time starters, and I'm going to hope that's enough. I would probably lean on the 8, the Panther, at 12-1. I like that they only paid $50,000 for him, but he's in for a $100,000 tag. I would think as a late season 3-year-old at Keeneland, that he's probably cranked up. Like, they're not just getting a race in him, that they're trying to win this spot. Maker can pop with the first time starter. I like that Saya shows up, consistent work tab, a couple bullets in there, and I like when they have a nice easy work at the end of the full work tab. It kind of indicates to me that he's as fit as he can be. He's ready to go. So that's the one I'm on top. I'm also going to use the 4, Half-Light Tempted. The other first time starter for Dale Roman's pretty much similar case, not as flashy as a work tab, but just one I'm going to try to get home.
Yeah, I have different ones here. I'm going to try the 5 shortstop. Now, those horse dates really are not that great. I mean, raced in January, then was off till September. Raced pretty well there in September at Churchill there in maiden special weight last year. Then was away until Ellis, July. Raced well again, ended up beaten 11 lengths. And Wendelson actually ended up in stakes after that maiden race. Then didn't show up until September at Churchill and was 9th out of 12 horses. Now drops back in way sooner than typical for this one. So that could be a positive sign for a barn that is certainly sharp and can win at Keeneland. The works are solid, and Gaffleone is listed here. So I do think that they are going to try with the 5. I didn't mind the 9, Uncle William, just because really, like you said, it's just a really tough race. Like another one that's been maiden specials his entire career. Has shown speed and maybe, can last here. That race back on June 30th at Churchill, I think, is pretty solid. Now, that was in the mud there. I'd certainly outraced the odds in that spot, but I do think we'll be up close again. It just has to finish it off. So 5 and 9 for me. I do think, though, the 8 could be an ad here. I liked your case on that one. The turf weight works are interesting here. I do think I might have to use the 8 as a B. So 5 and 9 on the A line. 8 on the B line. Race number 5, Keeneland on Saturday. Let's go to race number 6. It's a 2X Jackson, optional claiming 80,000, 6.5 furlongs. Where'd you end up here?
I'm going to use 3. I'm going to use the 4, Wyco. I just thought he was super obvious in here. I really needed him last time at Keeneland, and he just kind of never got the trip he wanted. He was always seemed uncomfortable in that spot. And if I'm remembering correctly, that day was very, very speed favoring outside of Sierra Leone. I think was the only one that closed the entire day. So I'm willing to give another chance. Don't love the layoff and the short price in this field, but he just feels like one you need to use in multi-race sequence. The 2 others I'm going to use, both coming out of the same race, and I thought they both had interesting trips last time. One of them is the 10 Fort Warren, who was right up on the lead as a favorite, dropped all the way out of it. He went from first to last and then re-rallied on the outside and got like 5th or 6th. Just a bizarre race. I don't know what he was doing that day. The pace kind of really held together. So I kind of like that he was still able to pass those horses again coming on the outside. He was claimed out of that spot, shows up without a tag, I believe. I think I have that in my notes. I hope he's not at the tag.
No tag.
No tag. Yeah, good sign. Love the post. He's got speed, and I think he'll be tough to beat if he runs back to those Churchill races from earlier this year. Those were both really good races. They make him a big fit in here. And then the 6, Sahalat, 15-1, coming out of the same race, took a lot of money. He never had any chance. He was in between horses the entire race. Looked like he had some run in the stretch, and he steadied, and then he steadied again. Just never, ever got clear. I'm going to give him another chance in this spot. Picks up size again. Should be forwardly placed in this spot.
I have 2 very similar numbers. I agree on the 10 totally. Top pick, 8-1 morning line, Fort Warren. How often do you see Amos reach in for 80,000 to claim one? Not very often. And like you said, brutal trip last time. Just forget the line. Look back at those Churchill races back in May and June. This horse raced very well against horses like Injunction, Candyman Rocket. Both would be very, I think, tough to beat in this race. So I like that one. I think 8-1 may be a bit of a dream, though. I do think probably does get bet off of that. But it's definitely worth using. Agree on the 4 also. But, Wesley Ward, his barn's they're not winning at Keeneland. I mean, he's getting a lot of shares there. Just 1 for 13 so far. But this horse fits and, has a win over the racetrack. Looks, like you said, obvious on paper. Should be up close. It's going to be tough to beat. The only one I would mention that you didn't is the one, Cape Trafalgar. Just another Saffy horse. Shows up here off a bit of a layoff. You get IRAD. That race at Gulfstream back on May 11th was quite solid. 96 buyer in there. This horse, I think, could win with several different kind of trips. Seems to be able to stalk. Now, might have to class up here. Some of those, 1X races at Gulfstream aren't as tough as this. So that would be the danger. But so I would say heavy 10, use some 4, and maybe just a slight bit of a B type for the 1 in race number 6 on Saturday. Race 7, grade 3, Perryville Stakes. Really nice race here, Jackson. 7 furlongs here. I thought pretty wide open, but I do like Bookham Dano. I've liked this horse basically all year. The race in the Saudi Derby against Forever Young was fantastic. Then showed back up in June and won the Woody Stevens at Saratoga. That was a huge race. And then, that big win at Monmouth, that was a tough race. Dogfight. He showed his willingness there. I thought, he's a really nice racehorse. I mean, 9 starts, 6 wins, 2 seconds. And just the race in the Jerkins, it didn't set up for him. And it almost like he appeared out of nowhere in this stretch. He wasn't there, and then he was. He just couldn't catch the 2 that were in front of him. They had flown. He looks very good to me in here. And it's interesting that they show up in this spot. Now, he's 2-1 morning line. He's probably going to be less than that. But I would probably lean on him in Maltese because I just think he's the best horse. There's others. I think Houday fits, especially as an exacta partner here. Third back. Got a little bit of a confidence boost there at Belterra, but his past lines, his back lines, I think are pretty solid. It was 4th in the Pate Mile. I was 2nd in the Matt Win. It was 3rd in the Ellis Park Derby. I mean, this horse has been facing tough ones. He's a closer, and I do think that maybe others could, speed it up in here. It sets up for him, so I like him a little bit. And then the 1 is an interesting one as a long shot. Henro, 12-1 morning line, comes off a nice win at Churchill there on September 21st in a listed stake. I do think that this one could be getting better at the right time. Has some back lines, maybe not as classy as some of these, but he's interesting, especially, I think, underneath. So heavy Bookham Dano and then maybe a little 1-4.
Yeah, if I was smart, I would just bet all my money for the week on Bookham Dano and call it a week. And if he wins, he wins. If he doesn't, so be it. I mean, I love this horse. He's so cool. He shows up every single time. He's faced the best. He runs monster numbers. I don't even think he's had a good trip in any of his last 3 races. Like, they were okay. It wasn't great. I mean, in 3 back, he was pretty close to that suicidal pace, and he got first jump and held them all off. And then 2 back, he faced a formidable foe in Little Nye, and that horse had an easy lead on the slow pace, and he ran him down at Monmouth. And then last time, Prince of Monaco and Domestic Product or Domestic Spending are pretty good horses. They both got the jump on him. He still came at them in the stretch. Couldn't quite get there, but again, they got the jump. He ran huge. I was actually a little disappointed that he actually showed up in here. I was hoping he'd run the sprint because I was going to make a big case for him in there, but I can't blame him for taking a shot with his gelding, running that Keeneland. 7 furlongs might be what he wants anyways, so I'm all about Bookham Dano in here. I agree with Henro as an exacta horse. I'm probably going to key that horse 2nd and 3rd in exactas and tries.
Yeah, and you get straight 3-year-olds here too. So and there's not too many spots like that. Maybe he'll show up in the Malibu also. Straight 3s there. That's a grade 1 there. That's the usually that December 26th feature. I'm not sure what their plans are, but I mean that could be a logical spot here. But he does look very obvious on Saturday.
Yep.
Let's go to race 8, and now we're going to the grass here. and this is Mount a 16th. It's a 3x allowance, a pretty rare 3x allowance, Jackson. I thought wide open. I was looking spready here.
I was kind of the opposite. I'm going to get pretty skinny in this spot.
Okay.
I went with a 12, taking Candy. 7-2, I believe, is the favorite, but I was kind of disappointed his last race. I thought he was going to run really well, and he kind of got a soft trip and still got beat by Running Bee. Now, Running Bee did come back. He got 4th in the Coolmore Mile, so no real shame in doing that effort. The post is definitely a problem, but I like that he just continues to get better. And these Cherie Deveau horses, that just seems to be what they do. They progress, they progress, they progress. Now he's basically paired up buyer tops, and that pretty much indicates he's going to take another jump forward. And this is what he does. He pairs them up, and he jumps forward 5 or 6 points. So I'm expecting him to do it again in this spot. There's not a lot of speed in here, so he should be forwardly placed. He shouldn't have too much of an issue getting over from the rail. I just think it's all systems go in here. He's the best horse. He should get a good trip, even from that post. So I'm all about the 12 in here.
I do like him. I think that he is obvious here, but the post is a little concerning. That race at Saratoga on July 13th, that was a really nice race from an outside post, but just barely held on late. And Irish Aces came back to win out of that one. And then I didn't like Running Bee at all in that race at Saratoga on September 1st. And obviously he made a fool out of me in that spot.
Me too.
So this horse definitely plays, but I might use some others here. I'm interested on a couple of these horses on the inside. The 2 Bold Discovery ships over from Ireland here, has been racing grade 2s, grade 3s over there. Now, really is facing tough horses. I mean, Diego Velasquez would crush these horses. But if you look back, this horse has some lines at a mile that are pretty sharp, especially back in May. Has been facing big fields. So I do think it's interesting. You get blinkers, you get Lasix, you get Brian Hernandez. I like all those 3 things in an inside post. I think that this horse could play well in here, especially if the 12 gets roughed up from out there. And I could see the 1 also. Peros, 2 straight wins. Claims stepped up by Maker and was able to win. Now shows up in here for a 3X. Again, protected. I do think that should be from off the pace. I just like those last 2 races. Maybe is improving and probably needs a trip. Probably needs to class up a little bit here, but Maker is very good with these types, and I do think that this should suit this one, and you're going to get a price. So 12 and then a little 1-2 here on the A line in race number 8. Race 9, grade 2, Raven Run, 7 furlongs, 3-year-old fillies, Jackson. I do think that Emery is going to be a huge favorite.
Yeah, she should be tough to beat with anything close to her best in this spot. I mean, there's for a sprint with great stake sprint race, there's not a lot of speed in here, and the one that is probably drawn directly to her inside. And Twirling Queen, I believe is the name. Yes, Twirling Queen, and she drew outside of her. Her last 2 races, she's put up monster early pace figures. So, and she's run really well in them. She was right behind Ways and Means, who was probably going to be favored in a couple weeks of the Breeders' Cup. So, I just think she's got a big shot in here. She's got a pace edge. She's got a figure edge. She's drawn outside of their speed. I'm all about Emery in here. It's going to be tough for the other horses to overcome that, I think.
Agree. I mean, she looks classier. She looks faster. And, just it's probably supposed to win this race. The only other horse I could see maybe underneath, and I want your take on the 10 Holland Ice. If you pitch the Charlestown race, and that's a 2-turn 7 furlong race in that Charlestown Oaks, and this horse was favored in that spot. The prior lines at Gulfstream are very sharp, very fast. This horse with this post should be able to get an outside type trip that she wants to get. 12-1 morning line, maybe might not be able to catch the favorite here, but I do think could be prominent and figure in the exotics.
Yeah, she makes plenty of sense as an exact horse, right? You already said outside post, we pretty forwardly placed, get first run on the deeper closers. And I could use the 2 horse. I know they took turns beating each other, the 2 and 10. I would feel like try to beat my man Squeeze for the second spot in the exacta.
The 4 is interesting showing up in here, especially given the races that she's gone, going 5.5 on the turf. I don't know. It's interesting that they tried the dirt here. She had a race at Keeneland in October and just ended up 4th while favored. It was a 1X there, but this horse has been very good this year, 4 for 4, and now shows up in a grade 2. I'd imagine that they're going to try here for sure.
Yeah, I did check. She is running here. I know she's entered on Friday at Aqueduct, but she's scratching out of that to run here. You said she had some decent dirt form as a 2-year-old. My biggest concern was just the 7 furlongs. I feel like it's maybe a little bit out of reach for her.
Yeah, she's a cool horse though. I've actually had her a couple times, and she never takes any money. I mean, she won at 30-1, 13, 10, 4-1 there at Saratoga in July. So that's a real cool horse. And if I certainly, I don't know how much I would bet her, but I think I would smile if she raced well in that spot.
Yeah.
Let's finish up race 10 Saturday. We're going back to the grass. 2-year-old main special weights going a mile on the turf. Jackson, like PTF says, how are we going to get paid?
I am going to try to beat the favorite in this spot, and I know that's the 3 running away. You got to talk about Wesley Ward isn't exactly lighting the world on fire like he usually does at Keeneland, and I just feel like she's going to get so much money off of a really soft trip. I know it was a good field. Virgin Cloud was really good. Rare Art came back to win, but I mean, she had a 2-length lead, uncontested. It was not a fast pace, and she still couldn't win that day. And now looks like there's a lot of stretch out sprinters that are going to contest. And she, as a Wesley Ward trainees, they usually want the lead. So I'm going to try to beat her. I'm going to be 4 deep in here. My top pick's probably the one fixing to be on the rail. She by far has the best late pace figures in this field. And it's not like she needs to come from way out of it either. She'll probably be mid-pack in this spot. And at 12-1, I'm all over that. I'm also going to use the 6, the 7, and the 8. All is, price. It's not crazy long shots, but they won't be favored in this spot. The 6 just continues to progress every single race. She jumps up about 7 to 8 points. So very obvious in here. Another one that should be forward. Evelyn Louise is the 7 horse who came out of a race I thought was pretty live with Isle of Capri. I thought the horse looked really good at Kentucky Downs. And this horse, she finished 3rd in that spot, had some significant trouble in one of the turns. I don't know. It was late in the race. She had some trouble. And the debut race wasn't bad either. She kind of ran evenly, going 5.5 for a long. She's All Charm, has already won again at Keeneland. So a horse that I think will really appreciate getting to 2 turns. And then the 8 High Breeze for Graham Ocean. This is just what he does, right? He gives them a prep, usually going 1 turn, and then they just get so much better second time out. We already saw him do this last week at Keeneland as well. Picks up size again. I'm hoping size that's a big day because I like a lot of his price horses in this sequence. And she's 12-1. She made up, I think, 12 links in that race. So sign me up.
Agree completely with you on how you see this race against the 3 here. And I'm going to try the 6, 7, and 8. Those are my top 3 picks. You mentioned the 8 High Breeze for motion 12-1 morning line. Closed up last time going 5.5. This horse raced very well in that spot, really. Ended up on the rail late and certainly was digging. I do think should improve out of that spot. The 7, Evan Louise, just progression. The barn's going well. You get a little bit more distance here. Now, I do think that, maybe this horse will probably be another mid-price. Hasn't taken any money so far, but I do like the improvement last time. I think that one is a use. And then you mentioned the 6. Take note of this. Just missed there at Kentucky Downs on September the 8th. And Asmussen started that meet very hot, actually, at Kentucky Downs. So he's mostly known as a dirt trainer, but, I mean, he can certainly get him to win on the grass. This horse has never been off the turf. They paid a lot of money, $550 for this one, 2-year-old filly. So I do think with any sort of improvement at all that she definitely plays very well. And I do think a lot of these horses fit the way the course is playing right now. The 3 is going to be on the front. Is probably going to need to get pressured, but there's others in here that can pressure. The barn isn't quite going as well. You're going to have to eat the chalk. I mean, that's a front end jockey also. Corrales definitely likes to blast. So I'll take some prices in it last. I agree. 6, 7, 8. All right, Jackson, dollar minimum pick 6, but there's other big bets at Keeneland. We have the turf pick 3s that we've been doing pods for. The pick 5s, pick 4s all pay very, very well. How involved are you going to get on Saturday?
Definitely going to be involved. Book of Nano is going to be my key. I don't know if I'm going to bet a win bet yet or some kind of double, maybe in a straight pick 3 with concluding with the Raven run, but he's going to be my key for the day for sure.
Well, Jackson, definitely appreciate you coming on here, doing knocking out 12 races with me for the Players Pod. Good luck in the contest. We're going to find out. Everyone will know by the time they're listening to this how you ended up, but I hope to talk to you soon.
You too, man. It was fun.
Good
we'll be
stuff.
back right after this.
Oh, I cut you off.
You cut me off.
We'll end on
you can edit that out.
Oh, easy. But no, it was great. Good amount. I like the good a natural combination of agreement and disagreement there, which is always good as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the
turf is playing.
Yeah, that's right. we know what we're doing here. We've got 3 long shots that were put forward. It was the 6, and the 10. We think either of which, even running 1 or 2, will advance Jackson to the finals. And then, Mike, who was it you liked here again?
You have the 10 or the 7? I thought you had the 7.
I have the 6 and the 10.
Oh, 6 and the 10. Okay,
Yeah.
42-1 on the 10.
Apparently, yeah. I saw something a little different than the rest of the public, apparently.
That's good.
I mean, he was right behind the 5, and the 5's 3-1.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You don't have to convince. I wouldn't try to talk you off. But Mike, remind us who you went with in here as well.
I was 7 and then maybe a little 8. So those are my 2. So prices for me here. But tough rate. I'm rooting for Jackson. Don't worry about what I like. We're rooting for Jackson here.
Gotcha. I agree. That's the right thing to do. There's a lot at stake here. It'd be good for Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge Diaries as well. If folks haven't been watching that through the year, we've had some good reaction to that show. And yeah, I did it as audio for the first time last week, and that was that worked out kind of cool. All right. That might be the future or part of the future of that show. So we go in here and we look at our top 10, and then we look around the bubble. So yeah, I mean, it's tough because, it's hard to know where you'd feel safe. Certainly up over 30. I think it'd be tough, but I guess it just depends on who has what and what happens. So we're not going to make any promises to anybody. We'll just examine the bubble. Mark Henderson with the 4, Matthew McJunkin with the 5, Paul Weiser with the 3, Andrew Uretsky the 7, Jackson's better entry with the 6. About to pop here. We'll see what happens. Looked like the 2 and the 10 both got left a little bit. Is this 10 a deep closer? Are you worried about that start for your 10?
He's a deep closer today.
Not the start you would have picked? Is that what I'm hearing?
Nah, it's okay.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, closer today. Where's
They're
your
flying. It's fine. Look,
they are flying. I'll give you that.
They're stretched out.
6 is in a great spot.
Yeah, 6 is in a nice spot. Mid-pack closing into a fast pace. How's that high head carriage? First quarter comes in 23:15.
I mean,
6 is taking a hold of the bridle now, though, and is responding.
That's a lot of separation. Good. They're moving.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they're slowing down in the second quarter, given how fast this pace looks visually. Let's see. The 6 is definitely running out.
Come on, Machado Redemption.
That's right. I'm going to be quiet, actually, and just let you root in case you hit this here, Jonathon.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, they went 46-3.
They're flying here.
Come on. The 10 is just not running today. So come on, 6.
6 is in a great spot here.
Yeah. Need to shut off that 8 somehow, and come on, 6. Oh, he's not going on. Come on,
Somebody's
6.
flying from the back.
Maybe he just wants to run on the rail like Sierra Leone.
Maybe.
Oh
no.
Not today.
No, the 4s shook loose from that speed battle, and now it's a question of does this one have anything left of these closers, specifically the 12, and I guess that looks like the 3.
Someone needs a 4, I'm pretty sure, in the top 12 or something.
So let's see. Yeah, 4 is a 9-2 shot, really a contest type play. 4-3 are the relevant numbers, and we're looking there on the screen. What does that mean? Well, for Michael Saletta, it means the rich get richer. John Bull will be in great position. I can't imagine there's enough to knock James out, but we'll see soon. I mean, yeah, you look at that top 10, and it's a lot of 4s and 3s. Yeah. Paul Weiser, that's going to be critical points from him.
Matt Miller should stay. He got a winner.
Yep. John Maslin, that's going to be very nice result for him. Chris Weichel, going to be enough? Maybe. I'm not.
Most of the top 10, I think, will stay put. I don't think too many people will change here.
I mean, Matthew McJunkin might be the unlucky one here with that 5. Who proved no better than 5th. Well, it was a valiant effort, Jackson. You made it all the way to the second to last week. I'm sure we'll recap at some point on
with 2 entries too. That's tough to do. 2 entries, you were right there.
Yeah, I mean, and it just sounds like it was just unlucky. Is there anything you do differently? Had you to do it over again, other than the not knowing the results? Is there anything looking back at your process that you would do differently?
I mean, not really. The 3 horses I keyed, I got 2 wins and a second out of them. It's just no one. All the races I spread, and I don't think I got a second out of them. So it's just kind of how it went.
Is that typical for you? I mean, I'll admit that I'm not like when I get really skinny. versus a race where I spread, I will often do well with a price in the race where I spread, like relative to the race where I think I know something. Sometimes gets me in trouble, honestly. Obviously, I do better in rate, within reason. I'm talking here, but is that typically something for you where you feel like you have your best results where you can just zero in?
Yeah, I never hit caveman tickets, and caveman for me is like $100 pick four. I never hit those. It's when I have $10 straight, or maybe one or two in a couple of races. Those are the ones I hit all the time. It doesn't matter what price they are; they could be 15 to 1. So it's just, you got to have some stronger opinions, and than I did today, and that's okay. It happens.
It happens, and there's still. Do you have any specific plans to take another Breeders' Cup shot, or is this it for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna play in there was the one like the day before the BCBC.
Great.
On horse tourneys.
And last chance action.
Yeah, it's the last chance. We'll see.
Good. Well, we'll follow that story as well. Really appreciated you having on all season. And hey, I mean, let's not forget, you did have that huge pick 5 at the Del Mar along the way, but you just don't feel like you're in a position where you'd buy in if you don't qualify?
Not unless they hit something big in the next couple of days, probably, which could happen. You never know.
You never know. You have some strong opinions, as we heard on the show this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to go with these leaderboards in the other order. We'll give the one qualifier first, and then we'll come back and we'll check our top 10. We'll see when this goes official here in a minute, but just moving our way through the leaderboard here, we'll see who ends up sitting atop it. Relatively low scoring. Bedard. I wonder if that's a baseball reference there.
It's hockey.
Oh, it's right, of course, because it's Canadians. It's X-Men Racing. Different Bedard. Yeah, the Bedard pitcher was a long time ago and not as relevant. I should have known when the Canadians were involved that there was a hockey reference. Rich history of that, of course, in horse racing as well. Kevin Attard, Jose Ortiz, the winning combination for Donato Alani and the X-Men team, as well as the partners there in Keeneland. Okay, is this official? Let's take a look. Nope, we're still waiting for that.
That one's going to be close because he went off at 9-2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's going to be very close for that top spot.
It's going to be interesting to see how we're going to need the place pay and all that stuff. But yeah, Jim, 9-2. I mean, you think 15, 14, 15. Yeah, I don't want to make a prediction, but I don't feel great about the leapfrog ability with the chalk in second. Not going to get any help on that place price, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened, and the place pool usually, but doesn't always, model the win pool lead. All right, we're about to figure this out. And there it is. Now, Jim Settle does get up in that last jump. Very nice prices here. Yes, 602. That's a terrific place price. And I'm going to go ahead and say that was the difference there. Anthony Schiavone will get some meaningful breakage, as will David Browning. Actually, it's amazing. The next 15 outside the winner basically get their entry fee back. So not a terrible result there at all. I'm not going to list them all, but I am going to list the 10 who advance to our final table. If any of you are watching, I'll be bothering you this week. We'll be doing some short interviews for the show. Michael Saletta, Matt Miller, John Bull III, David Piers, Mark Henderson, James Millar in the Money Faithful.
Good
there.
Job, James.
Nathan Kaczynski, Stephen McNatten, John Maslin, and Michael Domable gets in there right.
Michael in too.
Oh man, that's amazing that he hung on. I thought Paul might get him with those place points on the 3, but the 416 not enough. Michael Domable hangs on. Terrific result for the In the Money team. Jackson, you notwithstanding, but still, I was proud of how you played in these qualifiers all year long. And you had some success and big things to come. Jackson, give us a plug for the podcast you've been involved in before we get out of here, because I'm excited to hopefully come on and join you and Ryan for some of your Breeders' Cup coverage if we can just figure out some timing. But let people know where they can find that.
Yeah, that's going to be on YouTube. It's called The Gallop Out. It's with me and Ryan Anderson, and I think we're going to preview the early pick 5 at Keeneland in a few hours. That's for Saturday. And then, like you said, we're going to have a lot of Breeders' Cup stuff coming up. So I think that starts next week, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday.
Awesome. Well, I love that. You can piece it together between what you and Mike did here and what you and Ryan will do over there. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. I'd like to thank all of today's guests, especially Mikey P, for sitting in, Alex Henry, JK, Jackson. Really appreciate all of you. Also appreciate our founding charity partner, sort of evolved now, but still, Kim Weir from Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. Really appreciate the work she does helping humans, helping horses. inthemoneypodcast.com/horses if you want to learn more about that. Also, our other founding partner, 10 Strike Racing. Love to root for the purple and black around here. They've had a huge Belmont at the Big A meet. We'll see if that continues on Saturday. Most of all, want to thank all of you for listening, making these shows so much fun to do. Special thank you to our friends at Breeders' Cup, especially Haley and Justin, for being such great partners over the year. Really looking forward to all the coverage that we have coming up in the near future for them. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.